how quick he was. It shocked me. I know. I just remember him, knowing him being a good football player. I was surprised at his quickness inside. They combine him with Ferguson, who we lost all last year, and then Webster, who we signed from Baltimore. Those are 3 good tackles, and we have 4 very good ends. We can line up our 2 pass rush defensive ends with Thomas and John Abraham. That they run under 4.6. They're 4.5s.
Well, that's what everybody wants. Those speed rushers on the outside.
Yeah, that's what we were trying to get. So
I guess that's why you drafted Brian Thomas.
That's exactly right. That's why we took him. And he sure looks good in camp. And I'm using him on punt return. I've got him on one little thing and letting him rush the punter a little bit, so he's helping me there. And he looks good there. He looks real good, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
We will return to regular programming momentarily on WQAM.com.
Been Catholic for 15 fucking minutes. Is that so much to ask?
Yes. Oh, the white folks hate the black folks, and the black folks hate the white folks. To hate all but the right folks is an old established rule, but during National Brotherhood Week, National Brotherhood Week, Lena Horne and Sheriff Clark are dancing cheek to cheek. It's fun to eulogize the people you despise, as long as you don't let them in your school. Oh, the poor folks hate the rich folks, and the rich folks hate the poor folks. All of my folks hate all of your folks. It's American as apple pie. But during National Brotherhood Week, National Brotherhood Week, New Yorkers love the Puerto Ricans 'cause it's very chic. Step up and shake the hand of someone you can't stand. You can tolerate him if you try. Oh, the Protestants hate the Catholics, and the Catholics hate the Protestants, and the Hindus hate the Muslims, and everybody hates the Jews. But during National Brotherhood Week, National Brotherhood Week, it's national, everyone smile at one another hood week. Be nice to people who are inferior to you. It's only for a week, so have no fear. Be grateful that it doesn't last all year.
902-550 WQM. Happy Jew Year. Happy Monday to you. 952 votes, pretty weak on the poll we took over the weekend. Wouldn't you think we'd have had like 8 million votes on that? Because it's not really, just ask for an opinion. You don't have to put on your thinking cap.
Well,
right?
There isn't a hateful answer in there.
Oh, I see. Plus, of course, it was the Jew holidays, too. Don't you think that has something to do with it? Plus, in addition to that, there are probably a lot of the Bushies who are like, they're in retreat. And you know something? Too bad. Tough titty. Probably didn't like a lot of those articles I read last Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And not only that, but plenty of these super patriots are getting ready to wave the flags again, Sorry, can't jump on that bandwagon, okay? I think the truth will set you free. And there are a lot of people who are emotional cripples and can't handle the truth. You know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're
emotional
talking
cripples, kind of like Mo Cheswick. Anyway, 952 votes on the poll, and we asked on Friday, what do you think is going to happen this year on 9/11, which is Wednesday, only 2 days away? Anybody out there getting a little bit nervous? Oh, we asked nothing unusual. 538 people said that. That's 56.5%. I have no idea, which, of course, was the correct answer. Wasn't that the right answer?
That was the right answer.
That's what we voted. 340. I mean, how the hell do we know? But, we did ask for your opinion. 342 said that, 36%. Another terrorist attack, 72 people, only 7.5%. Well, I shouldn't say only. That's actually more than you would have thought, isn't it?
Yes.
7.5% are in fear of another terrorist attack coming on Wednesday. I don't know. It just seems to me too predictable,
Oh,
I don't think that these scumbags, these dark age assholes want it to be predictable. But at any rate, we'll see, I guess, won't we? And I will tell you this right now up front. If you want to seek a refuge this Wednesday from the 85,000 consecutive hours you're going to be hearing and seeing about wallowing in the misery of last year's grotesque events, ain't going to happen on this show. I told George before the show today I'm going to do my damnedest on Wednesday to avoid, unless, of course, if something happens. If something happens, we'll, be on top of it. But other than that, forget about it.
Excellent idea.
And we're not going to, that's the wrong term to use. We're not going to forget about it. But we'll just give you a place where you can come and hide for 4 hours and get away from the endless coverage. It's ridiculous. Last night, now they had a good show on Dateline, which had nothing to do with 9/11, which had to do with the trial, the Pensacola trial, which we'll get to in a minute, because my head is still spinning from all of that. And you know who's the real asshole? I know. That's a loaded question. A real asshole is Dan Abrams on MSNBC.
Okay.
You know, they're going on about, well, the fact that they tried Chavis, and then they tried the two kids, and the same prosecutor. They had two different trials in the same case, and he's saying, oh, well, you know, this happens all the time. And, of course, every other legal expert they've had on in the last 4 or 5 days has said, this is unprecedented. Nobody ever heard of such a thing. But Dan Abrams, who's always talking over the judge and talking over, you know, he's more important than everybody else. He's got an ego almost as big as Mo Cheswick. But at any rate, Dan Abrams on MSNBC, you make me sick. Somebody who bought a Florida Lotto ticket at a Pembroke Park gas station is a millionaire. I told George before the show, and this is the truth, 2 numbers away from not being here today. I get a call, 8:15 Saturday morning, the phone rings. I'm sound asleep. On a Saturday morning, who the hell would you call just to schmooze at 8:15 in the morning?
I would still be asleep at 8:15 on a Saturday morning, I would hope.
And so was I. Since I have to get up 6 o'clock in the morning the rest of the week on the weekdays,
right.
I enjoy sleeping on a weekend, especially now that I have a dog crawling all over me, till whenever the hell I feel like getting up. Phone rings, and, of course, I finally get up, and I go out in the front room, and there's nobody on the phone. So I was already awake, and I thought, well, I'll sit here, and the next time the phone rings, whoever the person is that calls, that was the person who called at 8:15 and woke me up, right?
Very good,
So about 10 after 9, I'm sitting there watching TV. 10 after 9, phone rings. It's Rimmer. Not David Rimmer, the prosecutor from the 2 Pensacola trials, which I'll get to. That man just frosted my ass. In the first trial, he says, oh, here are the 2 kids. They're going to testify against Ricky Chavis, and you got to believe what they say because they're little kids. They're not going to make up stories, blah, 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 blah. And then, after he finds out and he and the judge and a couple of other people already knew the verdict from the first trial.
Right.
Then he goes and he puts the 2 kids on trial, and he says to the jury, a different jury, he says, oh, well, you can't believe what these kids said because they already gave a confession and they got no credibility. I mean, what are we talking about here? I think for justice, we got to go to Don Corleone or somebody beside the American justice system. It's a joke. But Dan Abrams says, oh, it happens all the time.
Oh.
So anyway, when we finally get to the end of a meaningless conversation that could have taken place anytime, the rim man finally says, well, I bought 21 lottery tickets. Should I buy you 21 and we'll go in partners? I should, sure, whatever, whatever. Noon yesterday, the phone rings, and I notice he put it off until a more respectable time. Noon yesterday, my phone rings, and there's the rim man again. On one of my 21 tickets, we had the first 4 numbers in a row. It's a good thing he had the tickets and not me. I think I would have had a fart attack in the elevator again. No, seriously. I mean, have you ever had the first 4 numbers?
No.
In a row?
No.
I mean, at that point, when you get to the 4th one, you start your cheeks start vibrating and your ass too. But unfortunately, that was the end of it. So we got $70. $70 for so that's 35 apiece for 21. So I made $14. So the fact that he won 14 now tells you that he can afford to buy that lunch.
By the way, how would you know if it was one of your tickets or one of his?
He separated them.
I see.
And I told him, I said, well, he says, see, I didn't, in other words, he's bragging about the fact that he didn't lie about it. I said, hey, for $70.
And if it had one, of course, he wouldn't have lied about it.
And that's what I said. And of course, if it would have had the other 2 numbers, I would have called you up and it would have said, I'm sorry, the number you're dialing has been disconnected. No further information. He'd have been long gone. Anyway, 7 tickets, one bought at the Subco at 3151 West Hallandale Beach Boulevard, matched Saturday's winning numbers to share in the $85 million jackpot, 10, 16, 22, 29. We had 10, 16, 22, 29. We did not have 36 or 41. God damn it. You think I would have been here if we would have?
No.
I would have to do one last show.
Oh, that's right. You have the big one last show.
That big one last show where I could tell Greg. And since I'm not going to do the one last show, I'll still say, hey, Greg, just for the hell of it. And that goes for you, too, Mo, which we'll get to him. We'll get to that ridiculous story in the Palm Beach Post from Saturday in a minute. Anyway, story employee Aftab Udin was so excited to find out that his gas station sold a winning lotto ticket, he congratulated himself. Oh, congratulations, he said. That's good. I don't think he said it like that. You think he said it like that?
I think it sounded just like that.
Oh, that's good. Udin said Saturday brought too many people buying tickets. Everybody wanted 10 lotto, 15 lotto. Some people even bought 100 tickets. The other winning tickets were bought in Fort Myers, Jacksonville, Winter Garden, Winter Haven, India Atlantic. What the hell is that? Is that up by Stewart?
I don't know. It's up there. I've heard about it.
And Ocala. What do you mean you heard about it?
I heard the name.
Total of 433 tickets matched 5. See, the problem with the lottery is the 5 doesn't get enough, the 4s don't get enough, and, $70 for 4 numbers, that's a ripoff. And $4,957 for 5? It's weak. But like I said, when there are going to be that many winners, that's not the week you want to win anyway, right?
Right.
Who the hell wants $10 million? You want to be greedy and get the whole goddamn pot. So nice going, Rimmer. Don't call me 8:15 in the morning again, you lunatic. Here. Oh, and can I clarify something from Friday?
Please.
Remember I was talking about that nutrition book?
Yes.
Which I realize nobody cares about that.
Right.
But nevertheless, there was a thing in there about sugar substitutes that end in OSE and about how they're all bad and yada yada. And so anyway, after the show, I realized there's a message on my thing, and I go down, there's a shipment of Champion Light, which I was very excited about. So I go down there and I get it, and I thought, it seems to me that Champion Light has sucralose, and sure enough, I look in there and it does. I look back in the book and I realize that only, and I'm not saying this to like shill for anybody, because what have I always said about those sugar, the ones that end in O, like in all those candies?
Sorbitol.
Oh. Huh?
Right.
You know what I'm talking about? P.D. Lenny, who's made me crap my brains out. All those ones that end in OL, like sorbitol and maltitol and
It'll make you
crapitol. Oh, by the way, Jerry ain't doing too good.
No.
So anyway, sucralose has no calories and no carbohydrates, so that's not a problem. So it's A-OK. But fructose and maltose, glucose, those that have a caloric value, it's the same as sugar. See what I'm saying?
I see.
Good. Anyway, here's our poll question for today. And I put this off for a couple of weeks because I want to give everybody an opportunity to to give you high marks. How did George do filling in for Neil this summer? We do this every year. What is this, the third year in a row?
Yes.
Do it every year. And generally you come out okay. I mean, there are a few people out there who want to take a cheap shot, want to rip you an ass.
And
of course, and plus it's the Jew holiday, so I figure now's a good time to take it. There won't be as high of a Jew content who consider you to be a virulent anti-Semite, which is just totally unrealistic and even though somewhat true. How did George do filling in for Neil this summer? I've got you 6 choices, okay?
Wow.
Excellent job, better than ever. That's going to be my vote, I'll tell you that right now. Good. Okay.
Okay.
Fair. Weak. Or I don't listen when George is on. Now that covers it all, don't you think?
Sure does.
I'm giving you a real good opportunity there to get kissed or ripped or...
What's the distinction between fair and okay?
Okay means that they enjoyed it. Fair means like, just don't start nitpicking now. I'm giving like all these different
I wanted
degrees.
clarification on there.
Now, because if we take out one of those, I mean, at least you got 4 that are okay.
All right.
Okay?
Okay.
Okay. Cut the crap. It's my poll, goddammit, and I've seen your polls, believe me. How did George do filling in for Neil this summer? Excellent job, better than ever. That's all one, by the way. Okay, Eric, you got it. I don't want to get Eric confused because his blood sugar is swirling now. Good. Okay.
Okay.
Fair. Weak, or I don't listen when George is on. Well, look at this. We're getting a little behind. It's 9:13. That's because we got a little bit of a late start. Don't worry about it, Mo. No problem, baby. No sweat. Anything for you, Mo. Right?
No.
No. We'll get to that Charles Elmore column. By the way, the news sections in the Palm Beach Post, like I've told you before, really have some good stuff. The sports section may be the worst in the universe. Between Brian McGain and Charles Elmore. Oh, what a goofball. Anyway, let me tell you about a goofball, and that's, you know who's a goofball? I just discovered it over the weekend. Skippy, our new sales guy. He fits in like a rubber glove right inside your...
Rectum.
Because remember the conversation I had with him on Friday morning?
Mm-hmm.
Get me some copy for this. But even you inherited this account from Brian. And okay, whatever you say, okay.
Yeah,
did he give me any copy?
No.
Did he do a
Friday
goddamn thing?
No.
That was
He did
Friday morning.
Right. Oh, I see. That's right. That was too long ago. I mean, it wasn't long enough ago. Let me tell you about Oleomed. It's a product that no matter how hot, how humid, how insufferable it gets outside, it'll keep you healthy on the inside. Oleomed is a soft gel capsule that contains the best olive oil, and we know the wonders of olive oil, man. Some of us smear it on our feet. Some people smear it in their
Rectum.
all over their bodies. The Greeks used to do it, and that too. Anyway, inside those soft gel capsules are the best olive oil anywhere, along with vitamins and minerals and herbals to promote health for your prostate, your heart, your blood pressure, and your cholesterol, and also one for your circulatory system. They make a product specifically for your digestive, your endocrine system, one for your skin and bones, even one for your mind, Skippy, all using the benefits of the best olive oil you'll find anywhere, like I just said only moments ago. And don't forget, Oleomed makes products for men and ladies out there, too, even real ones. Wait till you hear the story on Rosie, by the way, becoming a man. Pick some up, Oleomed, that is, at Walgreens, Whole Food Markets, Navarro Pharmacy, and Sedano's. It's a stupendous, exciting, very good new product. If you want to find out more about what it does, just call their toll-free number and ask whatever you want to ask. Call 1-866-OLEOMED. That's 1-866-OLEOMED. And don't forget, you can get more information and order their products from their website, too, if you prefer, oleomedamerica.com.
Live and local. This is 560. The radio's all yours now. QAM.
Happy Purim!
Boy, the way that Napster played.
Not a single cent we paid.
See them free tunes sure was great. Those were the days.
MP3s downloaded!
Every tune from REM. Mister, we just knew one day that website would be condemned. Didn't need CDs or tapes.
Napster fans commiserate.
Gee, that sucks, we have to pay. Those were the days.
9:18 at 560 WQM. Happy Monday to you. Front page of the National Post here in Toronto. U.S. makes urgent case for war. And, of course, all the saber rattlers were out there in full regalia yesterday in all the talking head shows. There was condescending Condoleezza. She was on there. And there was Dick Cheney on with his good, close personal friend and neighbor Tim Russell on Eat the Press, again, fielding really tough softballs. There was My Colon's Killing Me Powell. And there was Donald rattling the saber Rumsfeld. They were all on there. Cheney, of course, bringing in all kinds of astonishing recent news that, oh my gosh, Mohammed Atta met with Iranian officials in Germany, maybe, possibly, as if that was something new. Didn't we hear that last year? Yeah. Like shortly in the days after 9/11? Yeah. And we still don't know if it really happened, but that's one of the excuses. Let me just tell you right now, okay? The reason I'm not taking a poll on Iraq, whether we should invade, we did that before a long time ago.
Yes.
Because it's a moot point. Because the decision, according to the front page of the New York Times on Friday, the decision's been made months ago. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when. And I think sooner rather than later is going to be the situation. And, of course, it's only a coincidence that the saber rattling is starting now, coinciding with the anniversary of 9/11 in 2 days, and with the election coming up in less than 2 months. I'm just suggesting it's only a coincidence. You do understand that.
I understand.
There's nothing political involved here. Anyway, before we get into any of that stuff, and also about Papa Bush, who I just got too much stuff. And then back to that trial again. But before that, Charles Elmore, who called George on Friday from the Palm Beach Post, which has maybe the worst sports writers and sports section in the history of mankind. Path to Radio Booth took David through mud is the headline on the article. You didn't see it, huh?
Oh, yeah, I get the Palm. I have a subscription.
No, I would have thought somebody would have faxed you several copies already by now. Nobody faxed it in?
Nope.
Whoa, maybe nobody reads the Palm Beach Post. Or maybe nobody in Palm Beach County listens to the Neil Rogers Show. That could be it. Path to Radio Booth took David through mud. Howard David brings a New York flavor to his regular season debut Sunday, meaning yesterday, as the radio voice of the Dolphins, as they beat a little girls' team, pounded the crap out of them. His years as a Jets announcer also put him on the receiving end of the occasional Bronx cheer in South Florida. Switching from one team to a hated rival may be unusual, but I think I've had more positive feedback than negative, David said Thursday. I've had some negative feedback from people who still associate me with the Jets. I say, look at Don Shula. He once coached the Colts. Did he have any problems with allegiance here because he coached the Colts? No, and it's the same with me. Still, when the Jets come calling in a couple of weeks, Howard said it's going to feel a little strange. It's going to be very strange. Just like when the Jets blew the game there at the end and then pulled it out in the kickoff in overtime. Dolphin players kid him that he's going to help them break the 8-game losing streak to the Jets. Dolphin linebacker Zach Thomas told him, weren't you the voice of the Jets? Maybe we can beat them now. Accusations of secret Jet sympathies haven't been the only bugs on the windshield in David's journey to Florida, says Charles Elmore. He moved to Boca Raton to serve as a sports talk host on WQAM 560 AM. After beginning that job, he was named to replace play-by-play man Bill Zimfer on the Dolphins Network, which includes WDJA 850 AM in West Palm Beach. Color analyst Jim Mandich questioned the way Zimfer was let go. Zimfer made some wounded remarks. WQM talk host Neil Rogers stood up, talked that David played an instigating role. David denied it, but he said he felt dragged through the mud. He was dragged through the mud. Listeners were not always sure what was real and what was showbiz in the on-air feud with Rogers, but David does not sound like a man treating it as a gag. Asked about Rogers, David said, I've never seen more infighting than I've seen here, and it starts with him. David said he prefers not to dwell on the Rogers issue. The last time I listened to him was June 3rd. He said, oh, come on, Mo. Come on, Mo Cheswick. Who the hell? Last time he listened to the show was June 3rd. I remember because it was my birthday. He came in. First of all, I didn't come in because you sent the Beast to invite me to come in to suck up to you and wish you a happy birthday and to tell me why you hate George like poison. He came in and turned something I said in confidence into a bit. There was nothing said in confidence. And wait, here's the best part. David did not rehash the episode. Well, of course he didn't rehash the episode, because then he'd have to admit what it was that he told me about how he backed off, he did the right thing, and he didn't force George to get fired. Because he's obviously too embarrassed to actually spell it out right in public that he tried to get George Rodriguez canned because of a few silly emails that George faxed to me up here that I used on the air about him. David did not rehash the episode, and the producer for Rogers said he didn't recall. Rogers did not respond to a message. You told him you didn't recall?
No, I didn't. I said I don't know what he's talking about.
Yeah, see? Charles Elmore, man, you're a writer like Brian Begane is a writer. In fact, they probably, hang out together.
I said I don't know anything about that.
With Neil Little. Radio can be a tough business. The last two Dolphin announcers did not leave by their own choice, with veteran Rick Weaver eased out before Zimfer. David said he understands that gaining and losing jobs is part of the game. He wasn't particularly happy with the way he was let go from announcing NFL games for the Westwood One Network in favor of Marv Albert. In the middle of negotiations, they didn't call me back for 3 days, David said. The way they did it was just unethical. They demonstrated no class. A Westwood One spokesman declined to comment. Isn't that amazing? So it's Mandich, Zimfer, me, Westwood One. It's Mo against the world, baby. Nobody has any class. Everybody's full of crap except Mo. David's attention is now on the team at hand. The thing I've appreciated most, he said, is the support I've received internally at WQAM and the Dolphins organization. They've shown me more respect and loyalty than I can possibly equate to anything in my career. I guess a lot of the backbiting I've seen that goes in certain areas I've learned to ignore. For his part, Mandich said he and David are meshing well. Coming along just fine, Mandich said. You move on. It's not what he told me. Agreed, David. It's better than expected. I think we came out firing. I don't have any concerns. The only concerns I have are the offensive line and the pass rush. That's what Mo had to say. Like when they play a real team as opposed to yesterday's little girls team that was just a tune-up. So there's the story from the unctuous Palm Beach Post, which, like I said, good news stories, horrible sports section, and a very weak article by Charles Elmore that says nothing. Now, here, I got to vote on the thing, okay?
I already voted.
Excellent job, better than ever. That's my vote for Georgia Summer. I didn't hear a whole lot of it, but what I heard was a gigantic improvement, and certainly better than those awful Best of Neil tapes. How come I'm trying to vote on here? I must not... Huh?
Uh-oh, maybe somebody already voted in your building.
Excellent job, better than ever's got 5. Oh! Yeah!
No kidding? I voted for okay, by the way.
Votes. Huh?
I voted for okay, by the way.
Good 2, okay 1. No negative votes yet. I love it. Of course, Greg hasn't voted yet, and Maddie Bell.
He's eating ass again, Greg. He's eating ass.
Yeah. Your little close personal friend, Maddie Bell. Another one of those backstabbers, him and Petey Lenny. That'd be a good poll to take one day. Oh, man, him, Petey Lenny, and Mo Cheswick. 3 of Georgia's notorious backstabbers. Notorious B.I.G. Whatever. Huh? Which is the worst? Don't trust that Petey Lenny, man, as far as you can throw him. And as a matter of fact, what I would do with him is just tie him up and start force-feeding him sorbitol and make him sit in the corner. Certainly not a corner close to where you are, though. Florida verdict stuns prosecutor and jury. Now, do you understand how this thing is possible?
They explained it over and over again, and I'm still not accepting it.
I think that the new way because especially since in California and other places, the justice system has such a difficult time in convicting anybody, including people who are obviously guilty. What we're going to start doing now is we'll have one prosecutor try 20 or 30 different people for the same crime.
Okay.
In front of different juries, and then he'll pit one against the other one, and then he'll finally, come up with a conviction.
And use reasonable doubt of one as reasonable doubt for the other and each other,
right.
And therefore nobody did it.
I mean, this was just the most unbelievable thing I've ever seen. And of course, a guy named Rimmer was David Rimmer. Have you seen him on TV?
Yeah.
Makes me want to puke, that Rimmer. I'm talking about David Rimmer, okay? See, I have to suck up a little bit because I want to make sure I get my $21. No, $35, sorry. 926 at 560 WQM. We'll get into that. We got all kinds of stuff on Iraq, which, like I said, it's a moot point because it's not a question of if it's going to happen. I got a great article from today's National Post ripping the crap out of the pussy media here in America and about the public, most of the public obediently going along because, you have to be patriotic, baby. You can't criticize your government. You can't ask any questions, like all those articles I read last Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, which I'm sure that there's plenty of people in the audience. Oh, no, you can't say those things. I guarantee you that. Aren't you sure of that?
Positive.
I'd bet your life on it. 926 at 560 QM. Have you heard the news about the 3.95% mortgage and the fact that Todd Dreck won't get us any new copy? Both of those things are true. If you've been thinking about it, quit thinking and do something. Now's the time to purchase a home or refinance your existing home at the incredibly low rate of only 3.95%. If you have a 7.5% mortgage, that 3.95% rate would save you over 3.5% or over $3,500 the first year on a $100,000 mortgage. Don't make things hard. Make them easy. Pick up the phone and call Financial Group, 1-800-940-LEND, L-E-N-D. That's 1-800-940-5363. Getting a mortgage someplace else will cost you thousands of extra dollars every year. Think of all the money you're going to save when you got a 3.95% mortgage. Financial Groups help thousands of customers just like you. Put your financing in the best possible position by getting yourself a 3.95% mortgage. Call Financial Group today. Ask all the questions you be having. Call 1-800-940-5363. That's 1-800-940-5363. They're an equal housing lender. Credit restrictions do apply. And don't forget, rates are subject to change if you wait too long.
We're Sports Radio 560 QAM.
You heard me whine and get uptight.
Yes.
I'm standing up for artist rights. I'm telling you all about how I feel. I got the shaft, got a bad deal. I speak for race equality in the record industry. That might be kind of silly. No one's whiter than me, but I'm still mad. I'm mad. Come on. You know I'm mad. I'm mad. You know it. Yeah, I'm still mad. I'm mad. Come on. You know. Yeah, I'm feeling so angry right now. My face just might fall off. I'm mad.
9:32 at 560 QM. I just had a great idea for Wednesday. You know what it is?
What's that?
And I'm not suggesting there was anything humorous or funny about 9/11. Obviously, there was not. But, because, you know, this business of anniversaries and always having to celebrate, especially something morbid.
Right, a negative anniversary.
Exactly, the idea of wallowing in misery. I mean, and I saw enough last night, believe me. 60 Minutes had a 2-hour special. And again, here are the pictures again. Then CBC had another thing. And then finally I said, the hell with it, and I went to bed. I can't take any more. And yesterday was only Sunday. We're only warming up for the middle of the week. So I'm thinking maybe Wednesday what we'll do is just play like mostly comedy bits all day.
Okay.
Just to give people an alternative who don't want to wallow in the misery of it. It was grotesque. It was horrendous. It was unacceptable. It wasn't because it was America. It was because it was innocent human beings who were incinerated by a bunch of lunatics. Why we have to keep putting it in these terms of, well, America was attacked. Innocent people were murdered, were butchered. That's what it was all about. And it's going on all over the world and always has. Because basically what the world is all about, like I've been trying to tell you, is religious lunatics against the rest of us who just want to live our lives and be left alone. It's as simple as that. Religious fanatics, which, I don't want to be redundant. So I think Wednesday maybe we'll just do that,
Sounds great.
Sounds good to me. As opposed to, whatever. Although we could take a lot of calls. What's this? Tonight join, what is this? Mark and Joe. Did you write this out?
No.
Whose writing is this?
Pete.
Pete who?
How many Petes do we have working here?
Oh, Petey Lane? No, he just gets on my nerves. Too much backstabbing, Petey. Too much yenting and too much backstabbing. Anyway, I just Schmidt canned it. Although it is for Mark and Joe. See, I guess I better do it. It's on the floor. Would have been anybody else. See, and this guy, and he's got all kinds of stuff in here. Now, it's a spot. It's not, I'm not doing it. It's a spot. I'll just tell you where they're going to be, okay? I'm not doing all of this other stuff. Join Joe and Mark, the Dirty Boys, at the Gatsby's Kendall for the Crown Royal Monday Night Football Party. What time is it? Does it say what time it's going to be? No, I guess whenever the game is going to be, which is 9 o'clock. Great game, by the way, Patriots and the Steelers tonight. So go see Joe and Mark at Gatsby's and Kendall for the big thing. That's it. That's all you're getting, Petey. You're not getting another whole spot. These sales holes who want to whore your show and whore your show, they don't give you any copy. They don't give you a squat. But thanks for the champion light, by the way. Now, what the hell was I doing? Oh, I was talking about Dateline, right, from last night?
Right.
Oh, and look at the poll. We got, they're after you now.
Yeah, I'm so
The idiot. No, you know who it is.
Of course.
62 votes so far. How did George do filling in for Neil this summer? I don't listen when George is on 26. 42%. Well, that's about right. You lose about 40%. Like I should say, you keep about 60%, 60 to 70%. What's wrong with that?
None.
We got anybody else in this town that's going to keep 60 to 70% of the audience on this show?
No.
No. Anybody else at QAM?
No.
Oh, man. Other than maybe Joe Zagacki. I don't listen when George is on 26. Excellent job. Better than ever. 16. Good 15. Fair. Or wait a minute. Okay 4. Weak 3 and fair none. See, you're right. There's a little distinction there, but fair none. So let's see. Positive. Excellent. Good. Okay. 48, 49, 55%. Is that right?
Okay.
No, not okay. Okay only had like 6%.
Oh.
Anyway, Dateline last night had, they interviewed members of both juries from the Chavis trial and the two punky, obnoxious kids. And it was shocking. It was unbelievable. Because the people that they talked to, all of them believe that Ricky Chavis is the one who killed the father with a bat.
Right.
Now, the first group, they said they believed that, but they didn't. The prosecution didn't present enough evidence. And then the one guy, this old creep, he says, well, I voted to acquit because he's got these other 2 charges he's going to have to be tried for, and I know he's going to be convicted and go up the river for at least 50 years, so I'm not worried about that. You following that?
No.
He's convinced that he did it, as was the whole jury, basically, but they didn't have enough evidence to convict him. And then the jury in the kids' trial, they also believe that Chavis actually did the thing, which is why they only convicted the kids of second-degree murder, not first-degree murder, because they don't believe that they actually swung the bat and delivered the blows to his head that killed him. They think that Ricky Chavis did it, and they were shocked when they heard the verdict in the Chavis trial of not guilty. They were in disbelief. Anyway, jurors who tried 2 baby-faced boys on charges of killing their father with a baseball bat were aghast to learn that another panel had acquitted an adult accused in the case, but their conclusion that the boys only helped and didn't swing the bat stunned the prosecutor who presented both cases. Yeah, that David Rimmer asshole. And like I said, he's telling the first jury, oh, these kids are credible and they're going to testify against Ricky Chavis and you got to believe them and blah, 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 blah. And then he tells the second jury that they're little liars and that they already confessed and here's their confession for you to listen to, and they did it. Man, this is justice? You watch this whole thing. This thing's going to blow up in their face on appeal. You know that.
Yeah.
Don't you think so?
Oh, I know so.
Alex and Derek King, ages 13 and 14, were spared a life term when a jury found them guilty Friday of second-degree murder without a weapon. The boys face 22 years to life without parole, but the judge is free to go below the minimum when they're sentenced October 17. If they'd been convicted of first-degree murder as charged, their only option was life sentences without parole. Their convictions have rekindled talk about changing a Florida law that allowed them to be tried as adults. In a separate trial, convicted child molester Ricky Chavis, 40, was accused of committing the crime by himself. He was acquitted, and the verdict was sealed until after the boys' trial. Assistant State Attorney David Rimmer, who prosecuted both trials, said he thought the panel in the boys' case had ignored the allegation they wielded the bat and simply gave the boys a jury pardon by convicting them of the lesser offense. The jurors know good and well he was killed with a weapon, Rimmer said. That's a jury pardon. That's okay. I don't have a problem with that, he said. The jury forewoman said that wasn't the case, that the panel believed neither boy swung the bat, but rather than Chavis carried out the slaying. The jurors didn't know, of course, that Chavis already had been acquitted in a separate trial. Their decision to convict the boys of second-degree murder was based on their belief that Alex and Derek opened the door to let the killer in the house, forewoman Lynn Schwartz told a Pensacola News-Journal. That reasoning stunned Rimmer. I didn't think that at all, Rimmer said. Rimmer had avoided asking the Chavis jury for a conviction, saying the only reason the case came to trial was that the boys had lied, either when they told police they killed their father or to the jurors when they said Chavis did it. He said it was up to the Chavis jury to decide which was the lie and added, I don't have a dog in this fight. Oh, give me a break. One of the jurors' reasoning in the boys' trials, he said, was, I thought perhaps he encouraged them to do it, but I never felt Chavis was there. Alex and Derek had testified they opened the door and that they went out to Chavis's car, but no physical evidence was introduced at their trial showing that Chavis had been in the house. Schwartz said the jurors thought the boys' recorded confessions were forced, rehearsed, and unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
Right. Schwartz said the King jurors were aghast when they heard Chavis had been acquitted. I was so shocked I couldn't believe it, said Schwartz, 52. She said the other jury saw a different presentation, different interpretation. It's too bad they couldn't have all been tried together. That might have been a fair trial, she said. The Reverend Thomas Masters, a leading opponent of prosecuting children as adults and death sentences for juveniles, said he thought the jury was sending a message to change the law. There's no way in the world you can receive a fair trial in an adult arena where you're looked upon as an adult when you have the mind of a child, said Masters, a pastor at New Macedonia Baptist Church in prestigious Riviera Beach. Masters became involved in the issue when one of his teenage congregation members was charged with murder as an adult. Nathaniel Brazil was 13 in May 2000 when we don't want to go all into that. Florida law gives prosecutors only two choices when children are charged with major crimes such as murder. They can be prosecuted with juveniles or adults with nothing in between. Governor Jeb Bushmeister acknowledges being uncomfortable with some prosecution of children as adults. I do think prosecutors ought to have the flexibility to determine the jurisdiction, whether it's juvenile or adult, he said. I'll tell you one thing right now. This guy, this Chavis, this pedophile piece of turd,
yes,
whether or not he wielded the bat, you know, he was up to his ears in it, okay? He either planted the idea and gave them the idea of doing it, or he did it himself. Guilty as hell, implicated right up to his goddamn earlobes. Don't you think?
Of course so.
See, one thing about pedophiles, contrary to what the church would tell you, there's no cure.
Right.
And then, of course, he denies writing the love letters, denies having had sex with this 12-year-old kid. But, hey, there's American justice for you, baby, as it stands. Let's try a whole bunch of people, okay? Maybe we can get one conviction. Or maybe we can get like 2. Maybe we can fry 2 people for the same crime. I bet you they'd like that in Texas.
Oh!
Yeah. Where they want to hang everybody. 9:41. Just calm down. Just relax. Don't get all whipped up into a frenzy. We're going to go into Iraq. We're going to invade. We're going to, put the lives of hundreds of thousands of our young people, young men and women at risk. Like you said before the show, they were going to, whack the hornet's nest.
Yeah.
We're going to find out, do you really have those chemical and do you really have that nerve gas to unleash on our military?
We're going to find out exactly what they have.
Let's find out. Yeah. Hey, no more barbecues, no more vacations because summer's just about over and the kids are back in school. So you've probably gained a ton during the summertime. We'd like to know how to get it off. Here's how you get off. You call our friends at Balance for Life, and you can lose weight with a big smile on your puss because it works. It's not some quack diet. It's not some crap that in little freezer bags or in those little silly containers. They bring you a beautiful little black sack every morning right to your home, to your office, to your door, wherever the hell you are, by 6 a.m. And in your black sack is all the food you need for the whole day. So you don't have to figure anything out. If you're dumber than sawdust, look at the beast. He's not the brightest guy we've ever met. But at any rate, he's lost, 53 pounds?
53.
And well on his way to becoming a human being. And you can do just as well or even better. Because the fact of the matter is the food is delicious, it's fresh. You get to pick from 2 choices for every meal every day you're on the program. And also not only 3 meals, but 2 delicious snacks in there and a little bottled water as well. And boy, you stick with it, and the weight will come pouring off your body. You'll be healthy, too, and you'll have, I'll guarantee you, even if you go to the neighborhood bar to watch the game on a Monday night, you'll have the most beautiful stools you've seen in years. In the bar and in the bowl. So let Balance for Life take care of that weight loss because, like I said, it really works, and it's the delicious, guaranteed way to lose that weight. Call them today and get started, 954-568-3229. 954-568-3229, or get more information about the Balance for Life program and how it'll be working at their website, balanceforlife.com.
Live and local. This is Sports Radio 560, QAM.
Have a heart or a liver?
No.
Let me tell you about a way you can tickle your prostate. It's a lot of fun, but time's escape. This is the night away. Oh! How it started, I don't know, but according to Christopher Lowe, ain't nothing like a moist brown hole when you this is the night away. This is everybody says it's great. Yeah, this is the night away. Lean forward, spread wide, slide in, slide out, watch the movie, move the tubing.
Rectum.
Rusted round. Yeah, this is the night away.
All right.
Fisting is the latest thing, but get yourself some Vaseline. Ooh, man, those hemorrhoids can bleed. This is the night away. It's something people seem to like. Who knows, you may even find Betty White and Henry Hyde. This is the night away. Yeah, fisting. Oh, fisting. Everybody lubricate.
Oh my God.
Yeah, fisting. Fisting. Yeah, fisting the night. Let's fist a while. Lean forward. Spread wide. Stick it up your ass. Slide in. Slide out. Watch the movie.
948 at 560. Now, you're aware of why I played that now?
No.
You're not?
No.
Well, you didn't read this entire thing that you faxed to me that one of our listeners from South Miami
faxed. Oh, that little thing.
Says, I found this on my doorstep in South Miami this weekend. Thought you'd be interested. It's a piece of propaganda from the repeal the gay rights ordinance people. And by the way, before I get into what it says here.
Yeah.
Friday night on Donahue, which I was one of the 10 people watching him. Wait till you hear about his ratings. Oh, my God, they're even lower than Mo Cheswick.
Oh, damn it.
Anyway, guess who was on there? Mayor Pinga Pequena, with the best of intentions, of course, even though I had no idea what he was talking about, was totally unqualified to be there, against that Armesto broad.
I wish I'd have seen that.
Have you ever seen her?
No.
Man, talk about foaming at the mouth. She didn't want to shut up for a second. And, of course, she also was just spewing propaganda. And, unfortunately, he was totally unqualified to be on there because she kept saying things like, there is no discrimination, there's never been one case. And, of course, in the article I have here from Washington Post, which I'll get to in a second, 71 discrimination claims have been filed with the county since the non-discrimination ordinance was restored 4 years ago. More than 50 have been settled or are still open. And, of course, that's only people who actually had the cojones to come forward and file discrimination suits. But according to Ms. Armesto, there are no discrimination cases. It's just a smokescreen. And this piece of crap says, do not be fooled. It's a smokescreen, see, which will take away your parental rights. Kids get graphic instruction on homosexual sex. Many of us are familiar with the travesty that occurred in the Massachusetts public school system where Glisson ran workshops where children are exposed to workshops that taught, what is that? Oh, fisting. See, there you go. Oh. Fisting. I just get through playing it and I can't read this thing. Fisting and other techniques for gay sex. This is what they will do in Dade if given the chance. Vote yes, it says, 242, September 10th, meeting tomorrow. And, of course, obviously anybody with a brain will vote no, which is what Mayor Pinga Picani was leading. In fact, you know he's the co-chairman of the Vote No campaign?
No, I didn't know that.
How do you like that? Well, he can sniff the political winds, you know. Right. He stuck his nose out the window. He stuck one finger up our good friend Juan Mendieta and put his nose out the window. He said, oh, my God. Not politically correct to be voting yes on this thing, on repeal. At any rate, here's the thing. Yeah, she didn't want to stop talking. Donahue was hard-pressed to get her to shut up for a second. Anita Bryant, in all her frilly 1970s bouffant glory, smiles down from a record cover propped on a corner file cabinet of the election headquarters of the gay rights group Save Dade. Boy, I remember that like it was yesterday. Bryant is a mythic and reviled figure in this room, the orange juice spokeswoman and beauty queen, who led a successful campaign 25 years ago to repeal a groundbreaking ordinance that prohibited discrimination against gays and lesbians in Dade County. The ordinance was narrowly restored in 1998 by county commissioners, but it is once again the subject of a fiercely contested repeal effort that will be decided by voters tomorrow. The election bears enormous practical and symbolic importance to national gay rights groups, which have sent dozens of volunteers to Miami in hopes of defeating the measure and discouraging repeals in more than 200 cities and counties that have laws prohibiting discrimination against gays and lesbians. It's sort of our version of the Freedom Riders, said Lori Jean, executive director of the National Gay and Lesbian Task Force, which has contributed volunteers and $100,000 to save Dade. Anita Bryant wreaked havoc all over the country. We wanted to show the country that not only has Miami changed, but the world has changed too. Bryant, who lives in Tennessee, has not been involved in this summer's Dade County repeal fight, but reminders of her 1977 campaign are everywhere. She's trying to find two nickels to rub together so she can pay all of her help, you know, poor Anita. At times, it seems gay rights activists here are battling the ghost of Bryant's long-ago Save Our Children campaign as much as the conservative Christian groups who have sponsored the current repeal. A flyer in Save Dade's office urges volunteers to undo Anita. Homophobia is so retro. The flyer evokes a central tension and election campaign. Save Dade wants voters to view the repeal as an anti-gay initiative. The pro-repeal Take Back Miami-Dade group wants to frame it as an assault on what they believe is an unnecessary law. Take Back Miami-Dade's approach departs somewhat from the strategy employed by Bryant, who took a moral tone in her public remarks and warned that the anti-discrimination law would encourage gays to recruit children. Take Back Dade has echoed some of those themes in literature it distributes. One of its flyers said, homosexualists want to get orphan children through adoptions, and they're demanding the repeal of all laws that protect children against sexual abuse and exploitation. But Anthony Verdugo, a member of Take Back Miami-Dade, says the central theme of the campaign focuses on not extending privileges to gays and lesbians that might not be afforded to others. The real issue is special rights and special powers that some people in our community want. It is used as a battering ram against people who disagree with a particular ideology, said Verdugo, who is head of the Miami-Dade Christian Coalition. What a surprise. He cites reductions in Dade County grants to the Boy Scouts, which bans gay troop leaders. Take Back Dade also contends that gays and lesbians are not the victims of discrimination. They have gay clubs. They have gay nights at clubs that are not gay. They have gay restaurants, said Rosa Armesto de Gonzalez, a Take Back Dade volunteer who serves as Verdugo's attorney. Instead of discrimination, you see special treatment. Such reasoning baffles George Kettlehone, co-chairman of Save Dade, considering that 71 discrimination claims have been filed with the County Equal Opportunity Board since the non-discrimination ordinance was restored 4 years ago. More than 50 cases have been settled or are still open according to Board's records. Yet for all the claims filed with the Board, Kettlehone said one of his group's main challenges is drawing gays and their supporters to the polls tomorrow. The people who are with us tend to be complacent because they think their human rights are safe, he be saying. That sense of complacency was stoked, Kettlehone said, by a Herald poll released last week that showed 54% opposed to the repeal, 34% for it, and 12% undecided. In the past decade, repeals in Maine and Colorado succeeded after pre-election polls predicting the opposite result, meaning in the privacy of the voting booth, all of a sudden bigotry rears its ugly head and political correctness goes out the window. In Dade County, an array of politicians and celebrities have publicly opposed the repeal, including 18 of the 21 mayors in the county and pop star Gloria Estefan. The repeal effort has also suffered from a series of scandals. Take Back Dade came under fire for using the image of Martin Luther King Jr. on a flyer. Also, 4 repeal supporters, including Verdugo, were arrested last month for falsifying petitions needed to get the measure on the ballot. They have pleaded not guilty and have said the arrests were politically motivated. In the final days leading up to the elections, both sides have turned to churches. Candlelight vigils were planned and Sunday sermons were polished. It seemed fitting, and Arthur Curtis, 61, a Save Dade volunteer, who remembered a gathering at St. John's on Lake Church in Miami Beach to plan strategy for the fight against the repeal. Someone mentioned that Bryant used to sing there in years before she moved from her mansion in Miami Beach. We all thought it was a brilliant moment, Curtis said. They were all sitting down where Anita Bryant had staged her last hurrah in Dade County. And by the way, hey, Anita.
Bye, bye, bye.
That's for you, sweetheart. Yeah, the old orange juice queen. Seen her lately?
No.
I haven't. The only thing we heard about her is the fact that she can't find, like I said, 4 nickels to rub together and she can't pay her help.
Not doing so well.
Not doing too good, poor Anita. That'll teach you to take us on us fags. And, of course, that was before we had Rosie. I'll tell you one thing about that Rosie O'Donnell boy. He's really doing it. Let's see. George's 119 votes on the poll. How did George do filling in for Neil this summer? I don't listen well when George is on 53, 44.5%. Sounds a little high to me. I think those game players are in there again trying to bust your balls.
You think?
Excellent job, better than ever, 25. Good, 22. Okay, 12. So you add those up and you got a few, you know. Weak, 6, and fair finally got 1. Well, somebody had to vote for fair just to legitimize it being a choice, you know. 9:56 at 560 WQM. I got the Mad Dog, the Angry Hound at 1 o'clock. We got Hank at 3 with Nat Moore from 5 to 6. As Hank continues learning more ways of having real short shows. Nice going, Humper. 6:30 to 8:30, it's Hurricane Hotline from Dave & Buster's. 8:30 to 10, Orlando, the big Alziger, good guy, bad show. And then from 10 to 10:30, we must have dead air because the schedule says Ed K 10:30 to 2 and Joe and Mark overnight. You notice that?
Yeah, that happens sometimes.
I see. Could be a misprint, Clarence. And I hear Duff wants to come back. You know, mattress shopping, like I've been telling you, is only for idiots if you do it the old-fashioned way. If you do it the smart way, it's for smart people. And that is picking up the phone and calling the experts at Dial a Mattress, 1-800-Mattress. Tell them old Neil told you to call. I've been using these people for a coon's age. I wouldn't think of buying a mattress any other way. You got to be stupid to do that. And then Charles Elmo will write a column about you. And when you call 1-800-Mattress, you'll be instantly connected with a betting expert who knows their crap, who'll hook you up with the best brand name mattress and an unbeatable price and unbeatable delivery deal, too, and also that unbeatable 30-day and home comfort guarantee. To make a long story short, it is unbeatable. Call 1-800-Mattress. Choose from the top CETA. That's a new one. CETA, Serta, Sealy, Simmons, and King Coil. We got now 5 of them on there. And when you call Dial a Mattress, you pick the day and the 2-hour window for delivery that's convenient for you any day of the week, 7 days a week, like noon to 2, 1 to 3, 2 to 4, etc. And like I said, you get 30 days to check it out to make sure that you and your back are doing good and you get a great night's sleep every night. So replace that lumpy, worn-out, bumpy old mattress that's killing your back and not giving you a good night's sleep. You'll be sleeping like a baby as soon as tonight if you pick up that instrument right now and call 1-800-Mattress, 1-800-MATTRES, or check them out on that wicked web, if you like, at mattress.com.
Live and local. We're Sports Radio 560 QAM.
Salespeople are ice holes.
Pushes a shorty butt up. Pushes a shorty butt up.
All right.
Pushes a shorty butt up. Pushes a shorty butt up.
Yes.
Cheney said lay off the ventilator. He brought investigation to an end. They were getting too close to the towel-headed bodies down in Texas for a barbecue again. With George and Pop. Pushes a shorty butt up.
Oh.
Pushes a shorty butt up.
Are you sure?
Pushes a shorty butt up. Pushes a shorty butt up. If they don't teach this corporate retard, 3,000 lives will never be avenged. Cause you brainwashed monkeys are so goddamn stupid, you'll put them back in office again. What the f***? Pushes a shorty butt up.
Oh, we're fine.
Pushes a shorty butt up. Pushes a shorty butt up. Pushes a shorty butt up. Members of the ARP. Pushes a shorty butt up. 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 Salvation of Goyim.
10:02 at 560 WQAM. That says on CNN that Canada says that they must work through the UN first. Because he met in Detroit, or he's meeting in Detroit with Jean Chrétien, old froggy. You know what Chrétien told him this morning? That's exactly what he said. So here's a fact that says Georgia's show is the second best on QAM. Behind yours, of course, Georgia's show has steadily improved, and you are
absolutely correct, sir.
And I'd like to bear that out by pointing out to you that the last two summers, and I'm sure this summer will be no different, the ratings of Georgia's show are far higher than anybody else on QAM. You think that's a coincidence?
No.
Of course, Screwan thinks it happens by osmosis.
It's the tapes that help me.
I see. Now, let me ask you, why did you fax me this note as opposed to, like, discussing it on the air? Is there something wrong with talking about it?
because I didn't know if you wanted to discuss it on
Why
the
not?
I don't know, because it's just one of those things.
Because George said in this note, which seems kind of silly, I don't know, it seems kind of strange, my reading of facts when you're sitting right there. Not that there's anything wrong with promoting appearances for other people from other shows, especially people we like Joe and Mark and Beast, but you're the only one, meaning me, on the station that does that. Well,
right.
When I used to do appearances, Mad Dog would promote it all the time on the weekend, and Joe Rose. You mentioned Joe.
Right.
But you left out Mad Dog. He's very good at that. And, of course, that's probably because he's our partner in crime, like in the 10 to 3 slot, he's doing the 1 to 3. But even before he was my partner in crime, when he was only doing weekends, he still always was real good about that. Like a lot of times he'd be on the air on the weekend on a Saturday,
right.
and we'd be doing a thing like at Pizza Law from 1 to 3, and you'd be driving there, and he'd be promoting the hell out of it.
The weekend guys, like when Joe does the weekend show, if there's something going on or about to come on, then
right.
he will promote it. And when man,
the little dog and the Mad Dog, they're very good at it. But I'm sure that if you would give the information to Mo, he'd be delighted to promote your appearances.
As a matter of fact,
if I'm going to start doing appearances like at the brand new Pizza Lot, I'm sure that Mo would be
brought it up.
ecstatic to do that.
Since you brought up the example, there are some shows that don't promote appearances for their own people.
Really?
Really.
Well, there's some shows that not only don't promote other shows on the station, but encourage their listeners not to listen to certain other shows on the station. How do you like that? I guess Charles Elmore missed that point in his big column on Saturday in the Palm Beach Post. Unprecedented, maybe in the history of broadcasting, that we have certain people on QAM promoting for people not to listen to the show that follows them, which is also unheard of. Of course, he can't be influenced by this because he don't listen anymore. How do you like that? So we have high marks for Joe and what's his name? The Mad Dog. All right, let's get down to business, okay? I got so much stuff here, and I feel like I've wasted the whole first hour. You think it was a waste?
No.
No, I don't think so. This is from Newsweek, and this is going to make you puke. Get the bag out, okay? And don't forget, this Wednesday, this will be the one show. Not that we want to make light of 9/11. That would be the last thing in the world we would do, but I'd like to give people an alternative who've already seen enough of the pictures, heard enough of the horror stories, heard enough of the grieving from the relatives, and enough of the grieving already, you know what? How long do we have to be in perpetual grief, right?
Right.
You can be angry, you can be pissed off, you can be outraged, but you can't lose your sense of humor and you can't lose your will to go on with life. That's what we need to do, is go on with life. Instead of this constant resurgence of outrage being orchestrated, by the powers in Washington manipulating us like puppets on the end of the string, playing with our emotions so that we get all ready to get behind this new war now. Which just coincidentally, all the saber rattling coming right before the goddamn election. Just a coincidence. And like Cheney says, off year elections, we have an election every other year. Right, it's just a coincidence. Even though they planned for this months and months and months ago, only now are they starting to really rattle their sabers publicly. You notice that?
I noticed.
Anyway, exclusive in Newsweek, the informant who lived with the hijackers. Newsweek has learned that one of the Bureau, meaning the FBI, one of their informants had a close relationship with two of the hijackers by Michael Isikoff in this week's Newsweek. At first, FBI Director Bob Mueller insisted there was nothing the Bureau could have done to penetrate the 9/11 plot. That account has been modified over time and now may change again. Newsweek has learned that one of the Bureau's informants had a close relationship with two of the hijackers. He was their roommate.
Oi!
The connection just discovered by congressional investigators has stunned some top counterterrorism officials and raised new concerns about the information sharing among U.S. law enforcement and intelligence agencies. The two hijackers, Khalid al-Mindar and Nawaf al-Hazmi, were hardly unknown to the intelligence community. The CIA was first alerted to them in January of 2000 when the two Saudi nationals showed up at a Qaeda summit in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. FBI officials have argued internally for months that if the CIA had more quickly passed along everything it knew about the two men, the Bureau could have hunted them down more aggressively. But both agencies can share in the blame. Upon leaving Malaysia, al-Midar and al-Hazmi went to San Diego, where they took flight school lessons. In September 2000, the two moved into the home of a Muslim man who had befriended them at a local Islamic center. The landlord regularly prayed with them and even helped one open a bank account. He was also, sources tell Newsweek, a tested undercover asset who'd been working closely with the FBI office in San Diego on terrorism cases related to Hamas. A senior law enforcement official told Newsweek the informant never provided the Bureau with the names of his two house guests from Saudi Arabia, nor does the FBI have any reason to believe the informant was concealing their identities. He could not be reached, of course, for comment. He's hiding under his blanket. What's that thing that they, what would you call that? Magic carpet.
Oh.
But the FBI concedes that a San Diego case agent appears to have been at least aware that Saudi visitors were renting rooms in the informant's house. On one occasion, a source says, the case agent called up the informant and was told he couldn't talk because Khalid, a reference to Almedar, was in the room. I.C. Smith, a former top FBI counterintelligence official, says the case agent should have been keeping closer tabs on who his informant was fraternizing with, if only to seek out the house guests as possible informants. They should have been asking, who are these guys? What are they doing here? This strikes me as a lack of investigative curiosity. About 6 weeks after moving into the house, Almedar left town, explained to the landlord he was heading back to Saudi Arabia to see his daughter. Al-Hazmi moved out at the end of 2000. In the meantime, the CIA was gathering more information about just how potentially dangerous both men were. A few months after the October 2000 bombing of the USS Cole in Yemen, CIA analysts discovered in their Malaysia file that one of the chief suspects in the Cole attack, Tawfiq bin Attash, was present at the summit and had been photographed with Almedar and Al-Hazmi. But it wasn't until August 23, 2001 that the CIA sent out an urgent cable to U.S. border and law enforcement agencies identifying the two men as possible terrorists. By then, it was too late. The Bureau didn't realize the San Diego connection until a few days after 9/11, when the informant heard the names of the Pentagon hijackers and called his case agent. I know those guys, the informant purportedly said, referring to Almedar and Al-Hazmi. They were my roommates. But the belated discovery has unsettled some members of the Joint House and Senate Intelligence Committees investigating the 9/11 attacks. The panel is tentatively due to begin public hearings as early as September 18, racing to its end-of-the-year deadline. But some members are now worried that they won't get to the bottom of what really happened by then. Support for the legislation creating a special Blue Ribbon investigative panel, similar to probes conducted after Pearl Harbor and the Kennedy assassination, is increasing. Only then, some members say, will the public learn whether more 9/11 secrets are buried in the government files. What do you think? Do you think there are more?
Yes.
Yeah. But the First Lady says, and maybe she might have a point here, you know what? Although, see, I have other choices. I may watch Scream TV.
Okay.
Well, what's wrong with that?
Nothing. I wish I had
Scream TV. Let's all scream. And there are going to be a lot of other people screaming on 9/11. Let's hope only for memory's sake. I don't think anything's going to happen.
Nope.
First Lady Laura Bush is asking parents to turn the TV off Wednesday, September 11th, and instead read to their children and perhaps light a memorial candle. You know what the Christophers used to say? If everybody would just light one little candle, we'd probably have a lot of house fires. Don't let your children see the images, especially on 9/11, when you know it'll probably be on television again and again. The plane hitting the building or the buildings falling, Mrs. Bush said in an interview Friday with Univision, a Spanish-language TV network. Well, aren't they showing Que Pasa USA reruns?
I don't know. I'll check.
And what you call it from Saturday, don't tell me, Sábado Gigante?
I'm not going to tell you.
Hey, if they would show reruns of Sábado Gigante, I bet you they get a gigantic tune-in audience.
Got his name yet?
Who?
The host.
I don't remember his name. Isn't he dead?
No. Going strong.
I don't know his name. You could sit here and we could have dead air until midnight.
Don Francesco.
Oh, Don Francesco. I thought he died.
No, he's not.
Come on. One of those guys died.
And by the way, he's one of yours.
Now, what does this say? God bless our jury system. This is from, what is that? Full tape confessions, and the jury can only convict on a lesser charge in addition to the arson count. In January 2003, I began a trial against 11 city Miami police officers charged with perjury and obstructed justice in connection with various police-involved shootings, where officers, among other things, planted guns at several crime scenes after killing unarmed individuals and lied to law enforcement officials investigating the shootings. God help our community if the jury we seat in that case is of the same mentality as those jurors who couldn't see the forest for the trees and refusing to give credence to tape confessions and other evidence of guilt. One more matter. On several occasions, he rendered an opinion of some of the best hockey play-by-play guys over the years. As a native of St. Louis, I grew up to listening to one of the best, Dan Kelly. By all means, he should be included in your list of the great announcers.
Absolutely correct, sir.
Last but not least, I do not listen to this show when George is the host. He sucks, says Alan. And you better not mess around because he's with the Department of Justice. Did you see this?
Yeah, I saw it.
He said, you suck, man, so you better not open up a big mouth. He'll have your ass deported in no time before you can say Rip Van Winkle and Don Francesco 3 or 4 times. Hey, just, Now, who's one of my people?
Don Francisco.
Oh, is he Jewish?
Yes, he is.
Does he know Dave Johnson? Or Mo Cheswick? 12 minutes after 10 at 560 WQAM. Hey, let me tell you about Todd Dreck. Man, he is a major, major asshole. And you've heard us talk about becoming a high-paid computer professional on the show for a long time because Todd just don't want to give us any copy. Because he refuses to do his job. Because he's a putz. He's a loser. He's a loser. He's about a 2-foot-tall loser who comes up to George's kneecap. I'd like to step on him. You've heard us talk about the big number of jobs that are waiting out there for you in the computer field. Well, the question is, of course, I'm sure you're scratching your head like Greg and wondering, how do you find a good school that'll help you accomplish all of these things? Well, there's only one school that's got 4 convenient locations all over Dade and Broward, and, of course, the new one in Kendall included. There's one school that's got certified Microsoft instructors, convenient day, evening, and weekend classes. There's one school that's got full-time job placement staff with over 30 years' experience. And with this school, you can complete your program and get certified in just 4 quick, short months, and we're talking hands-on training, folks. And that school, of course, you've got to know it by now, unless you're some kind of a retard, is Fast Train. Speaking of retards, how's Todd Dreck doing? Man, he makes me want to puke. So anyway, get off your butt, pick up the phone and call Fast Train, toll-free. Tell them that old Todd told you to call and they'll laugh their ass off because they'll know that that's not true. 1-866-FAST-TRAIN, and within just 4 short months, you can start making some serious cash with a great new job in the computer industry. 1-866-FAST-TRAIN, and be sure and tell them that old Neil told you to call and not old what's-his-name.
Live and local. This is Sports Radio 560. QAM.
Why are you airing shit like this?
I had to buy a Cadillac, a big stinking coupe de ville. I wish I had my money back. It don't do much good standing still. Those ragheads down the desert way, those greedy smelly sloths. Let it deal with the oil man, and now we're getting robbed. Look at these gas prices. Bossy A-Rap, bossy A-Rap.
Yes.
Gas prices. Bossy A-Rap, bossy A-Rap. If we'd only grow a pair of balls, we could stop this crap today. Fire up the jet fighters and blow those towel heads away. Oh! Got these gas prices. Bossy A-Rap, bossy A-Rap. Gas prices. Bossy A-Rap, bossy A-Rap. Look at these gas
So let me ask you, other than Jordan and Kuwait, where they still hate us like poison, even though we went in there and emancipated their country from Saddam, can you name me a moderate Arab country?
Nope.
Oh.
Afghanistan.
Lightfoot recovers in ICU after surgery. You know about Gordon Lightfoot?
No, I did not.
He's Canadian, eh?
I knew that.
And he's in the hospital. But he'll be okay. Canadian folk rock legend Gordon Lightfoot remains in intensive care after undergoing emergency stomach surgery yesterday. Mr. Lightfoot, 63, is in stable condition at the McMaster University Medical Center after being airlifted to the Hamilton, Ontario Hospital early yesterday morning. You know where Hamilton is?
No.
It's right down the road. I can almost see it. By the way, beautiful day again. Now, see, I didn't discuss the weather there with you, so it's not like I'm rubbing it in again.
Okay.
How's the weather there?
Eh.
He was rushed there for surgery after he arrived in Aurelia Hospital with abdominal pains. He was to perform in his hometown north of Toronto on Saturday night, part of a tour that was to bring him to the Stratford, Ontario, en route to Eastern Canada. Rick Hayes, bassist in Mr. Lightfoot's band and longtime friend, said he was airlifted to Hamilton because of the expertise of Dr. Michael Maracchio, declining to elaborate. Dr. Maracchio, a general surgeon, specializes in liver and pancreatic complications.
Oi!
Mr. Hayes said Mr. Lightfoot's exercise regime will help in his recovery. He works out 4 days a week and runs 10 miles a week. The doctor told us that his excellent physical condition will help what we hope will be a speedy recovery. The family really appreciates everybody's concern. They said this morning on the news here that he's going to be doing his American tour on schedule. How do you like that?
I feel better now.
Well, don't you feel... You don't want to miss out Gordon Lightfoot, do you? If you could read my mind...
Wreck of the Edmund
If
Fitzgerald.
you could read my mind, and Early Morning Rain, and, of course, the Great Canadian Railroad Trilogy. You better watch yourself, mister. First you pissed off the guy with the Justice Department, now you're picking on Gordon Lightfoot? Just because he may have like a little weak liver or something? Anyway, there's an article in the, what is this in? Oh, the Toronto Star. Yesterday's issue. Written by Linda Hurst, feature writer for the Toronto Star. And, of course, a lot of you folks out there, the America Firsters, the blind flag wavers, the bushy lickers, you're going to be saying, oh, my God, that's anti-American and anti-American media. Well, you know, something that's right on target. And I'm going to read it. Kind of long. Is that okay? It's okay. Sure. By the way, let's take a look at the poll, though, first and see how they're beating you up. And believe, you know who it is on there? The one that's, you know who it is?
What, that state attorney guy?
No, that lunatic, whoever that guy is.
Yeah, they're coming in chunks of 10.
They're coming in chunks? Oh, man. 178 votes on our poll. How did George do filling in for Neil this summer? I don't listen when George is on, 73, 41%. No, I think that's about right, though. It usually is about that.
It's been better than that.
What?
It's been better than that.
Well, this is just the preliminary numbers, okay? Don't get all bent out of shape and defensive. The guy with the Justice Department, he hates you like poison. In fact, he may come and round up your goddamn illegal alien ass pretty soon.
Shana
anyway,
Tova, by the way.
I don't listen when George is on 73. Excellent job, better than ever 45. That was my vote. I thought George did a pretty and you know something? If he wouldn't have been taking those stupid calls, it would have been outstanding. Not just excellent, it would have been out-effing standing.
Less and less as the years go by, trust me.
Get rid of them callers, man. The callers blow.
I'm going to wean myself off of them.
They suck. Anyway, excellent job 45. Good 31. Okay 17.
Okay.
Weak 9. And fair now's up to 3. So that's not bad considering you got one guy with about 40 negative votes. Which you know which guy it is.
Yeah.
From Tiger to Pussycat, America's press defanged is the headline in this story in yesterday's Toronto Star. Serious journalists who sought a broader perspective were handicapped by Americans' patriotism, government interference, media self-censorship, and jingoistic bias. This will have to be a two-parter at least, okay? Just calm down. Linda Hurst writes, no one could have predicted the when, where, and how of the terrorist attacks on the United States last September, but those in the know were aware that the risk, however nebulous, was real. If nothing else, the bombing of the very same World Trade Center in 1993 told them that. Yet Americans were profoundly unprepared for another and more lethal strike on their own home turf. Nobody had warned them. Nobody had explained who was likely to launch it, much less why. Where was the press? Like the rest of America, we were fat, happy, and arrogant, is how Mike Wallace, the celebrated co-host of 60 Minutes, glumly put it this spring when asked why the media, his own much-lauded program included, had failed to track the situation that led to 9/11. Arab extremists in some godforsaken country raving on about loathing America, that's what it would have looked like, and any U.S. journalist pushing that story didn't stand a chance in the 1990s against the hypnotic enticements of O.J. Simpson, John Benet Ramsey, and Monica Lewinsky. Those were the stories that brought in the viewers, the readers, more to the point, the ad revenue. When each petered out or the public reached a satiation point, another would step forward, like Gary Condit, who was waiting to take its place. CNN may have started the drift to tabloid news, but by the end of the 1990s, the major networks and mainstream press were equally, albeit reluctantly, caught up in it. For the first time, news divisions had become highly competitive profit centers that were expected to make money. Sounds like something out of network, doesn't it?
Yes.
Many journalists deplored the trend of the insular, but were assured that the public didn't want complicated dispatches from complicated places they'd have trouble finding on a map. There were studies to prove it, sort of. Foreign coverage was expensive and time-consuming. Leave the serious stuff to the New York Times. And why not? With the fall of communism and the end of the evil empire, America no longer felt threatened by anyone anywhere on the face of the earth. It could be and was a world unto itself, and it found itself fascinating. Wallace made his mea culpa remark at one of a series of panels put on this year by Harvard University and the Brookings Institution, a Washington think tank, to examine the role of the media before and after 9/11. What lesson, if any, could be learned? In the lead-up to the first anniversary, a lot of American journalists are considering the same issue. Whether the press will revert to the way it was before is the question, says Anthony Collins, a former CNN and Newsweek foreign correspondent, now teaching communications at the University of Michigan. My general sense is that the media is slightly more serious than before, but serious won't be a continuous state. It'll go up and down. The attacks were undoubtedly a wake-up call for the press, says Roy Peter Clark, a senior scholar at the Poynter Institute for Media Studies in St. Petersburg, but some of them have gone back to sleep. At the first of forums last October, a who's who of American journalism, from broadcasters Ted Koppel and Peter Arnett to veteran newsman Daniel Shore, had lit into the profession, condemning networks and newspapers for curtailing international coverage, closing bureaus at the end of the Cold War because of the cost, and the alleged, though much debated, lack of interest from readers and viewers. Information, though not always palatable, is essential in democracy, they argued. The media should give people what they need, not just what they want. If there had been more of a sense of duty, said Shore, to remain au courant with what's happening in the world, what was happening in Afghanistan not today but 5 years ago, what was happening in Pakistan not today but 5 years ago, had we followed these changes as they were happening gradually, I don't think we'd be in the fix we are today trying to understand it all. But it's not likely to change, says Stephen Hess, the ex-presidential advisor and Brookings senior fellow who co-hosted the forums. Every organization running its own bureau is a red herring, he contends, because all have access to foreign material on the wires. They choose not to run it, he says flatly. Aside from the major organizations and the New York Times as the gold standard in my view, they've gone back to their bad habits. News you can use. It's very sad. No one disputes that the U.S. media sobered up fast in the shock of 9/11. TV and newspapers scrambled to cover the event on multiple fronts, from the sacrifice of the dead to the heroism of the doomed rescuers, from tracking how the attacks were carried out to how Washington planned to extract vengeance. With unprecedented space and resources, there was more in-depth reporting than had been seen in years, say observers. But little of it looked at how the rest of the world or even coalition allies were reacting or made more than a tentative foray into the unfathomable question of why do they hate us? Do I have to do the break now? Yeah, I guess. To be continued. What?
Oh, okay.
Well, I have to. We got a break, man. We got to get this business on here. We don't want to get Petey Lenny upset. And by the way, Petey, those promos, quit trying to make spots out of them, okay? You're not fooling me. I've been around the block a few times. 1026 at 560 WQM. We'll continue that in a second. I just picked up the next story and sent the piece of copy. That goes to show you the kind of frame of mind I'm in today, doesn't it? Psychotic. Hey, if you love your home but you need more space, here's what you do about it. Do what hundreds of other smart people are doing. Call Strictly Additions. Whether you're having a baby and need another room, if you're converting a carport or patio into living space, if you've gone into business for yourself and want to make a home office, just call our good friends at Strictly Additions. They're your one-stop shop, more space for your place, with an absolutely worry-free approach to expanding your living space. Those no-shows by the contractors ain't going to happen. Incomplete work, no way, Jose. No unexpected bills, no worries about the job not getting done right, and they take care of every single detail. They draw up your blueprints. They get the building permits, handle all the inspections. Strictly Additions has an easy 5-step approach to total customer satisfaction. Number 1, call to schedule a free project evaluation appointment at your home where a project estimator will determine the scope of your addition. Number 2, dose, twee. Schedule a bid appointment in their convenience showroom where you get a detailed proposal and exact price for your work. Number 3, trace. Select your finishing touches, go to contract. Quattro, review the design architectural drawings. And Cinque, sit back and relax as your dream edition moves ahead on schedule with unbeatable quality. That's easy as it gets. Give Strictly Additions a call at 954-791-8100. That's 954-791-8100. Look for their ad in the yellow pages. They are licensed. They're insured professionals who do a stupendously super job for you. Call 954-791-8100 for Strictly Additions. Tell them that old Neil and the unctuous Petey Lenny told you to call.
Live and local. This is Sports Radio 560. QAM.
Cripe's sake, she's only got one eye.
Ann Coulter is a party girl slut, party girl slut, party girl slut. Ann Coulter is a party girl slut, party girl slut, party girl slut.
On her back, legs are spread, Nazi snatch, it's good head. Nazi snatch, Nazi snatch, Nazi snatch, Nazi snatch, Nazi snatch, Nazi snatch. A camel toe, 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 a camel toe.
A moralist monster, a good girl who wants to be a media hoe and prefers it on top quiver. You want more on this lady? Here's what I'll give you. She's got a book to read about slandering. Nobody knows more about slandering out with a big stupid mouth than anyone to the left of Mangala. Such a good Christian girl, you want to strangle her. Pontificating who she's hating. Political pundit pontificating. Scrub on the floor and masturbating. A Republican skanky hoe. She's a federalissimo. Making liberal a dirty word, you know. In a miniskirt showing camel toe. And Coulter knows what hate can be in a miniskirt that smells fishy. She's a tall drink of water on the side of Law and Order with a back alley look if you like your broad collar. If you got the money, she'll spread those legs with a cigarette and a Chardonnay. And Coulter, political pundit, the angel of the right and an easy lay.
That fucking bitch.
So anyway, did you see at the end of this fax that I'm going to interject the middle of this article here? It says, did you hear that Ann Coulter got fired? No, we did not. I'll look for the article. Huh?
Fired from what? Because you had that other article that she was fired. Her column was discontinued in that one paper.
No, but that can't be what they're talking about. That was just one paper that dropped her column. Anyway, we'll see. But the rest of this fax, I'm going to interrupt that article because this is so worthwhile and timely. Anybody paying attention? No. They're busy worrying about this Gary Condit coming back. And how about those American Idol two? Bush and British Prime Minister Tony Blair talked to reporters before opening about 3 hours of talks at Camp David, Bush's presidential retreat in Maryland. Blair cited a newly released satellite photo of Iraq identifying new construction at several sites linked in the past to Baghdad's development of nuclear weapons. And both leaders mentioned a 1998 report by the UN-affiliated International Atomic Energy Agency, the IAEA, that said Saddam could be 6 months away from developing nuclear weapons. I don't know what more evidence we need, Bush said as he greeted Blair for a brainstorming session on Iraq. We owe it to future generations to deal with this problem. Brainstorming. I wonder who they loaned to George. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
In a joint appearance before the summit, the two leaders repeated their shared view that Saddam's ouster was the only way to stop Iraq's pursuit and potential use of chemical, biological, and nuclear weapons. The policy of inaction is not a policy we can responsibly subscribe to, Blair said, as he joined Bush in trying to rally reluctant allies to deal with Saddam, perhaps by military force, as Bush was hiding the 45 naked pictures of Tony Blair with the Queen. Contrary to Bush's claim, however, that the 1998 IAEA report did not say that Iraq was 6 months away from developing nuclear capability, NBC News' Robert Windrum reported Saturday. Instead, Windrum reported, the Vienna, Austria-based agency said in 1998 that Iraq had been 6 to 24 months away from such capability before the 1991 Persian Gulf War, and the UN monitored weapons inspections that followed. The war and the inspections destroyed much of Iraq's nuclear infrastructure and required Iraq to turn over its highly enriched uranium and plutonium, Windrum reported. In a summary of its 1998 report, the IAEA said that based on all credible information available to date, they have found no indication of Iraq having achieved its goal of producing nuclear weapons or of Iraq having retained a physical capability for the production of weapon-usable nuclear material or having clandestinely obtained such material. A senior White House official acknowledged Saturday night that the 1998 report did not say what Bush claimed. What happened was we formed our own conclusions based on the report, the official told NBC News' Nora O'Donnell. Meanwhile, Mark Gwozdecki, how do you spell it?
Gwozdecki.
A spokesman for the UN agency disputed Bush's and Blair's assessment of the satellite photograph, which was first publicized Friday. Contrary to news service reports, there was no specific photo or building that aroused suspicions, he told Windrum. The photograph in question was not UN intelligence imaging, but simply a picture from a commercial satellite imaging company, Gwozdecki said. He said that IAEA reviewed commercial satellite imagery regularly and that from time to time it noticed construction at sites it had previously examined. Gwozdecki said the new construction indicated in the photograph was no surprise and that no conclusions were drawn from it. There is not a single building we see, he said. How do you like that? So like I told you, they've decided months and months ago that they're going to pursue this, and of course now they're rattling all the sabers just before election time. Just a coincidence, of course. So it's not a question of if, it's a question of when. Anyway, getting back to the article in the Toronto Star by Linda Hurst. In the first few days, the media performed a Herculean task and did an epical job, says Vince Carlin, the American-born former head of CBC News World, now chair of Ryerson University Journalism School. But they didn't follow through, he says. Within weeks, any attempts to analyze the multi-layered backdrop to the attacks, in effect the other side of the story, were subsumed by the demands of President George W. Bush's with us or against us war on terrorism. Evil is evil, says Carlin. When something is demonized, there's no need to analyze it. In that, Bush reflects a fairly broad spectrum of the population. Only recently, he says, have major organizations, the New York Times especially, started to run hard-nosed analyses of U.S. foreign policy, and only after their columnists had done it first. But in general, Americans were not noted for their interest in the rest of the world before 9/11, and they're not interested after. There are all sorts of places in the world they should be looking at, but they're not. How, then, are the media rated for what they have been covering? Commentators on both sides of the border say serious journalists who sought a less myopic perspective on the war were handicapped from the start by the emergence of patriotism into the picture that's never entirely been excised. The constraints started quickly. Last October, when National Security Advisor Condoleezza Rice called U.S. networks asking them not to run certain tapes of chief evildoer Osama bin Laden because they were full of propaganda and possibly coded messages, they readily agreed. However, the same request by 10 Downing Street in Britain was met with a flat refusal. Government interference will be resisted, said the BBC. In Canada, no calls were made by Ottawa, and TV news executives exercised their own judgment on running unedited footage. At the same time, when the White House tried to prevent Voice of American Radio from airing an interview with Taliban leader Mohammed Omar, the staff threatened mass resignation. They ran an edited version, and a government spokesperson ominously responded that the defiance would be looked into. When director Myrna Whitworth was replaced, she left a memo warning reporters not to fall under the spell of self-censorship, continue to interview anyone, anywhere, she said. In November, CNN initiated a rule that any reporter doing a negative story on the war, the bombing of civilians, say, or of a Red Cross installation, must balance it with a reminder that terrorists had killed 3,000 Americans. CNN Chairman Walter Isaacson said it seems perverse to focus too much on the casualties or hardships in Afghanistan. Insiders say the real reason was pressure from viewers. Either way, notes former employee Collins, the Pentagon must surely have been pleased to learn that whenever its planes killed the wrong Afghans, CNN would quickly provide PR damage control. More recently, a senior intelligence officer with the State Department accused the media of treason because warning stories had been run on vulnerable future terrorist targets, chemical plants, the trucking industry, and the food supply. This type of reporting must be stopped or censored, he wrote in the Washington Post. As several columnists pointed out, warnings work both ways. If anyone had written about the possibility of terrorists taking flying lessons, that alone might have put a wrench into 9/11. While the public may be unaware of it, there's been less access to information in this war than all others before, say American journalists. As Koppel noted early on, government officials now choose to sit down for the soft lobs of CNN's Larry King rather than face harder interrogation from ABC's Nightline or any place else. Yeah, lobs from Larry King or Tim Russert on Eat the Press like yesterday again with his neighbor and close personal friend Dick Cheney. Another embarrassment, another freaking disgrace. And don't forget about that meeting between Mohammed Atta and that nebulous guy from Iraq.
I won't forget.
Okay, good. Okay, let me do another break. Boy, this is going to be a three-parter, you know. But that's okay. It's almost over. 221 votes on our survey today. How did George do filling in for Neil this summer? I don't listen when George is on. 82, down to 37.1%. See, you're gaining.
Well, now that you mentioned it.
Excellent job, better than ever. 60, 27.1%. Good, 37, 16 points, something, 7. Okay, 23, 10.4%.
Okay.
Weak, 14. And fair, 5. See, fair needs to be on there for 5. 5 people need an outlet. Hey, here's an outlet for you if you're fat, and that's Delights of West Boca, your official Atkins Diet Retail Center. And don't forget, if you want to save some money, this is the place because all Atkins brand products are 25% off every day of your life. Not just once in a great while, but every day. Delights carries the complete line of Atkins Diet products as well as over 500 delicious low-carb and sugar-free foods, as reported recently in the New York Times, on CNN, Dateline NBC, CBS News, Newsweek, Time, U.S. News, and World Report. The Atkins diet continues to be one of today's most popular and successful diets. Low-carb dieting has finally gotten the respect it deserves, and Delights of West Boca has been your leader in the low-carb, sugar-free diet field for years. Over 100,000 of their customers will testify there is no better store, there is no competition, Delights will not be undersold, and when you go into Delights, you can sample anything you want before you buy it. You gotta love that. Delights' friendly and knowledgeable staff will walk you right through the store, point you in the right direction, and cheer you on as you lose those pounds as they come flying off. Don't forget, there's only one Delights of West Boca. They're open 7 days a week till 10, and you can find them on the northeast corner of Glades and 441 in Boca. Call 1-877-LOW-CARB or check the web if you like at lowcarb.com. Don't forget, that's Delights of West Boca, your official Atkins Diet Retail Center.
Live and local. This is 560. The radio's all yours now. QAM.
Howard David.
What's that crap they played down the hall?
That's power.
Power 96. What garbage. The kids today don't know what's good. Like that song, I'm Happy I Live in a Split-Level Head. You remember that? How can you... Listen. I'm happy I live in a split-level head. I'm happy I live in a split-level head. You don't remember that?
No.
No?
Why am I surrounded by morons?
Come on, Howie.
Don't you call me Howie. I've had enough insubordination from you, pal.
No.
Calm down, will you? You shut up, fatso. Okay, that's it. You're all fired. You fat, stupid boob. Listen to me. You're fired. Guilty that goes for you, too. You know who I am? I'm the king of paradise. I came down here after losing my job to be a big fish in a little pond. When they kicked me off ESPN, they told me don't come back again. I had some problems with wise guys who advised I move to paradise. Florida. Fired. That backfield ain't no Louis Nye. That guy was funny. You're all fired. I hope that chick does what dies. I hope he dies. I hope you all die. I'm a big fish in a little pond, see? A big fish in a little pond. Is anybody listening to me? I'm a big fish in a little pond, a big fish in a little pond, a big fish in a little pond. Yeah! What is anybody enjoy me?
10:46 at 5. I'd just like to leave that echo at the end there.
That's nice. It reverbs.
The crazy world of Mo Cheswick. 1046 at 560 WQM. So anyway, Linda Hurst writes in the Toronto Star, and this is the end of the article. Collings, whose recent book, Words of Fire, deals with press independence globally, says the end result has been coverage that is rife with a cramped and jingoistic bias. Canadian journalist and educator Peter Desbarat says the media has had a real opportunity to do what journalism is supposed to do, provide comprehensive coverage, and it hasn't been taken advantage of. Reporters continue to stay off hot-button topics such as the fate of prisoners in Guantanamo Bay or the rights violations of hundreds of detained Muslims, many of them U.S. citizens. They've been very quiet about that. He says they find it difficult because it wouldn't be welcomed by the public. Just like my shows here last Wednesday through Friday, which I'm sure pissed off a lot of people who don't want to hear the truth. And by the way, if I can interrupt again.
Yes.
9:30 last night, there was a report on CNN by one of the reporters. I wish I had written down the name of the guy. And it echoed the whole litany of things that Cheryl Seal had in that first piece that I read last Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
The whole timeline of those events. Nevertheless, Hess at Brookings is surprised anyone would even ask about the public's influence on reporting. There's no question there's been public pressure on the press, he says. Americans were feeling threatened and protective, and they made their voices heard loud and clear. They expect the news to reflect their own point of view. Indeed, American conservatives who've long viewed the media as riddled with liberal bias have pounced on any reports that stray from official White House line. After flag banners were dropped from the screen during newscasts and local anchors removed the Stars and Stripes lapel pins they had sprouted on 9/11, viewers were quick to ask about their allegiance. Carlin says ABC News anchor Peter Jennings, Canadian-born and therefore suspect in many American minds, tried to bring a more sophisticated approach to the broadcast, but his producers were warned off and went back to cheerleading. Not all Americans settle for information confined to a U.S. point of view. Many were watching CBC News, says Carlin, to get a broader spectrum of opinion. Canadians are more outward-looking. They want information, and the CBC made a valiant effort to give the other side of the story. And in the first 3 months after 9/11, 36 U.S. public television stations added BBC World News to their lineups. The jingoism finally got to longtime CBS News anchor Dan Rather, who'd sported a flag pin in the immediate aftermath. In an interview in London in June, he said patriotism run amok was now trampling press freedom in the U.S. The fear of being accused of lacking patriotism keeps journalists from asking the toughest of tough questions. He didn't exempt himself. One finds oneself saying, I know the right question, but this is not exactly the right time to ask it. But if not now, as America's war on terrorism hovers on the brink of extending into Iraq, then when? Asked Linda Hurst, article in the Toronto Star yesterday. Nice going there, Linda. Right on target, eh? And I'm not so sure about this guy. What do you think of Scott Ritter? Do you think he's off the wall?
No, I don't. I think if anybody ought to know, it's somebody who's actually been there looking
And I'd
around.
like to point out that we don't see him anymore. Richard, what was his name? The UN, Richard Butler.
Right.
Well, Paula. We saw him ad nauseum day after day, right after 9/11 on CNN, but I guess his price went up or something. But he also agrees. He was the chief inspector.
Right.
And he said it right then. He said that they have no more, they inspected, they got no more any of this. Iraq is incapable of producing weapons of mass destruction and should prove it by allowing in UN weapons inspectors. An American who was once on the inspections team said yesterday, with his comments during a visit to Baghdad, Scott Ritter, who's been a sharp critic of U.S. policy on Iraq, joined a long list of officials from European and Arab nations who've urged Iraq to accept inspectors to defuse a crisis with the U.S. Iraqi cooperation on inspections would leave the U.S. standing alone in regard to war threats on Iraq, and this is the best way to prevent the war, Ritter said. He was on with Paula this morning on CNN.
Bush administration officials yesterday who essentially came out and has said that Saddam Hussein has been trying to obtain materials to build nuclear weapons, particularly trying to buy thousands of aluminum pipes that could be used in the manufacture of a centrifuge and ultimately used to manufacture weapons. What do you make of that?
What an absurd statement. Thousands of aluminum pipes, and we're going to go to war over thousands of aluminum pipes. Even the IIS report that you cite says that if Iraq was to have trying to do uranium enrichment, it would take them many years before they could do it. This is patently ridiculous. These are aluminum pipes coming in for civilian use. They are not being transferred to a covert nuclear processing plant or any covert nuclear activity whatsoever. But the best way to figure this out is to send the weapons inspectors in. If the United States has this evidence that Iraq has these pipes, why not, heck, give me the data, I'll come to Iraq, hunt it down, and we'll bring it to a close. That would save us going to war, killing thousands of people, and destroying our reputation in the international community. We cannot go to war because Vice President Cheney's worried about some aluminum pipes. This is ridiculous.
Ritter, a former U.S. Marine intelligence officer, spoke to members of Parliament and to journalists on his third trip to Iraq since he resigned from the UN inspection team in 1998. As in the past, His trip was organized by the Iraqi government. The rest of his schedule was not yet public. You don't find that a little bit suspect?
Sure.
Oh.
But still.
Maybe he's going with Peter Arnett. Maybe they're going out together. Iraq, while denying its banned weapons, has offered only to continue dialogue with the UN about the return of inspectors. Remember the UN, that paper tiger? It has not responded to UN Secretary General Kofi Annan's demand that inspectors be allowed to return unconditionally as a first step to further talks. Don't you love the way the UN makes demands?
Yeah.
You either do this or we'll draft a resolution. How do you like that?
And we'll put it on our website so that everybody can see it.
And then we'll tell the rest of the world that you're ignoring it like everybody else ignores all of our resolutions, like Israel and everybody else. Paper tiger, baby. And, of course, we foot the bill for most of it, like usual, because we're suckers. And we got it right there in New York. As if New York doesn't have enough problems and targets already, there's the UN sitting right there in goddamn Manhattan. Right?
Right. Most expensive jerk-off in the world.
Yeah, the UN. The UN said this, and the UN said that. And what the hell are they doing? In fact, how come we don't have UN peacekeeping? I'm not talking about a handful. Gigantic numbers of troops in Afghanistan now. You follow what I'm saying?
Sure.
Because if we do go into Iraq and we eliminate this scumbag, which is dubious at best, we couldn't get him last time, but we do go in there and flush him out, and we take, over Baghdad in 5 days or whatever, what do we do then? See, this is the problem that most people in the country just all wrapped up in that jingoistic bullcrap that I was just reading about. Nobody wants to come to grips with. Those articles about the Taliban and how we embraced them and we loved them and we financed them. First they were the Mujahideen and then they were the Taliban and then they were all the same scumbags who we later reviled after 9/11. But on 9/10, we loved them. And in May of the same year, we handed over $43 million. And you can believe it was because they stopped the poppy growing or because of the Afghan oil pipeline or whatever you want to believe. But it's a fact we gave it to them. And then all of a sudden, they're repressing women and they men all have to wear a beard a certain length and they're barbarians. Yeah. And the same with Saddam in the articles I read last week. That we helped them develop all of that chemical and biological capability. Helped him with his war against those worst evildoers in Iran. See, we do this all the time. We put in one corrupt leader, and then when he turns on us, like when he invaded Kuwait, then all of a sudden we got to risk thousands and thousands of American lives to try to undo the evildoers. Most of the evildoers around the world are there because we put them there. Oh, you can't say that. Sorry.
Good thing
I
we're
didn't
not.
say that. By the way, now Gaddafi closing in on new capabilities, says Sharon. Well, I tell you one thing, we're sure going to have a good time for the years to come because there is no end to those evildoers. It's a good thing that, what's his name, Rumsfeld didn't get his way on 9/10 last year, that we, had some time to think about it for Star Wars, that $900 million that he wanted.
Oh, yeah.
Or billion, whatever the hell it was. Small potatoes. What's a few billion among friends? Libya's Colonel Muammar Gaddafi has been secretly developing nuclear weapons capability and may acquire it before Iraq. Israeli Prime Minister Ariel Sharon, one of George's favorite people, disclosed, and mine too, this less than heartwarming news in interviews before last week's Rosh Hashanah holiday weekend. But he added, Israel may be the best prepared country in the world against the danger of a chemical or biological offensive. They got the bomb. This was his message to Israeli citizens who already are discussing on a daily basis the possibility that Saddam may launch warheads containing smallpox or anthrax at them as a last resort once the Bush administration moves to dethrone him. But the threat of Libya is not well known in part because Gaddafi's tried hard to clean up his act. After being forced by U.S.-led sanctions to indirectly admit complicity in the Lockerbie airliner sabotage, the dictator in Tripoli denounced terrorism. He tried to hire a Washington lawyer to get Libya removed from the U.S. list of terror-sponsoring nations. He nearly succeeded, since the State Department during the Clinton administration conveyed discreet messages to then-Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak's government that Gaddafi had endorsed Yasser Arafat's peace process. Gaddafi tried so hard to convince the world that he had stepped away from the axis of evil 10 years ago. A Libyan chemical weapons plant operating with the illegal help of German firms and scientists was shown blazing in flames. Intelligence reports indicated, however, that Gaddafi removed the weapons and equipment before staging the fire. Operating with the illegal help of German firms and scientists. But in the last month, Western intelligence agencies gained details of Gaddafi's latest adventure, his bid to join the nuclear club. At first, intelligence analysts suspected that Egypt was helping him in this project, but now it is certain that Iraqi scientists and engineers who developed their expertise in the last 25 years under Gaddafi are leading the underground Libyan effort. Sharon said a secret weapons effort is taking place in Iraq, and a similar process is going on in Libya, which probably will turn out to be the first Arab state with weapons of mass destruction. Other countries are helping Gaddafi, but the extent of the assistance is not clear, Sharon said. It may be that there is assistance from Pakistan, as Iran had, and nuclear weapons development, the Prime Minister warned, but for sure there is assistance from North Korea. All the evildoers, baby, they're doing it. So who do we attack first?
Let's just start on the edge of the Mediterranean.
I say Gaddafi. I don't like his headgear at all,
No.
And that Nehru jacket he wears there. Somebody should tell him it's out of style. 10:56 at 560 WQAM. There's a good chance your carpets are schmutzy after a summertime of your kids running all around and your pets and all kind of crap. Time to get back to normal again, okay? The summer's over, and your carpets, like I said, need a real good cleaning. How do you do it? You call up the best in the universe at Dry Concepts, the people that do my home, my mother's home, anybody with a brains home, because there's nobody in the world that does a better job at a fair price. And don't forget, the thing that separates these people from the rest, aside from the fact that your carpets look just like brand new when they get done, is the fact that they don't play games with their customers. No scams, no tack-ons at the end, no per-room song and a dance. They give you a written guaranteed price before they start the job. Your carpets dry in a couple hours after they finish. No soak carpets that are like mush for days. And you're ready to rock and roll the same afternoon or evening. So pick up the phone and call them today. And don't forget, Dry Concepts also, beside making your carpets look just like brand new, do a stupendous job of cleaning your furniture, your drapery. They do spot dyeing, fiber repairs, carpet repairs, in-plant oriental rug service, second to none, deodorization, and if you have a flood in the house, complete water damage restoration, too. They are miracle workers at Dry Concepts. In Broward, call 954-370-7778. 954-370-7778. In Dade or Palm Beach, it's a toll-free call, 1-800-248-5071. 1-800-248-5071. Clean today, entertain tonight with Dry Concepts.
We're Sports Radio 560 QAM.
Esa es la cingada manera de George Bush.
Oh, fat ass Rosie, please go away. Find a new way to attack a buffet. Go home and eat your ho-hos till you explode. Just like your fat, shut-in ladies have to buy 2 seats on a plane. Spinning your fingers that have yellow stain from Cheetos. Can't see your toes. Past your piggy poo nose. Proud to be fat, disgusting, and pasty. Oi! You make the shove-it women smile. They like a gal who's fat and sassy. Big, smelly, fat, so repulsive and vile. Your body cheese smells like a crapper after it was occupied by Ed Asner. Need a shoehorn to get into your car, 'cause you're too goddamn wide. Oink and squeal, oink and squeal, oink and squeal. Fat lady living with your lover, lesbian. Slobbering and sorting the tree between her knees. Mashed potato yeast. Smells fishy to me. Snapping up a tuna that's moist and tasty. Hey!
It's 11:02 at 560 QM. 260 votes on our poll. How did George do filling in for Neil this summer? I don't listen to what George is on. 95, 36.5%. See, it's kind of like leveling off now.
Just wait.
Excellent job. Better than ever, 73. Good, 42. Okay, 26. Weak, 17. And fair is up to 7.
Oh!
Let's hear it for fair. I mean, not that that's, the right vote, but at least it's got a few votes.
Whatever, I'll take
look at that. There's a pigeon out of my balcony. I mean, if it's good enough for Ted Williams, why can't I do it? Let's see. Here's a fact. Says everybody seems to be missing the real reason the shrub needs to invade Iraq and install a puppet regime as he did with Afghanistan. The trade sanctions against Iraq from the Gulf War will expire at the end of November. This means Iraq, with the third largest oil reserve in the world, will be able to dump their oil on the world market again at much lower prices than Saudi oil, which will cut into Poppy's oil cake back from the Saudis. Oh, jeez. Oh. Rosie sex change. Okay, let's get back to Fat Rosie, shall we? This is in this week's Globe. You better go out and get the Globe because they got a picture of her and a man. Well, it's not a real picture. Created with a little photo magic. It says they got her head on a big fat body with like a man's pinstripe suit on and a tie, a polka dot tie. It's lovely. Rosie's sex change. Shocker is the headline. Emotionally, she now sees herself as a man, and wow, does she look the part, says the Globe. Hey, man, just look at Rosie. Friends believe that her shocking new butch look amounts to a decision to change her sex, say sources. In everything but the physical sense, the ex-talk show host acts like she switched gender and she's happier now than she's ever been in her life. I thought we just got through reading last week about her boyfriend, girl, whatever that thing, her lady gal pal was getting tired of her and dumping her.
Right.
Didn't we? Well, it all depends on which tabloid crap you want to believe. The former Queen of Nice has suddenly changed into a tough-looking, in-your-face leader primed to take on anyone who stands in her way. I'd like to see her go 3 rounds with Janet. Oh, by the way, tomorrow's the election. Bill McBride. Wouldn't you say Bill McBride? And vote no on 242 and Bill McBride for governor.
Yes.
It's a shattering change from how Rosie presented herself at the Emmy Awards a few years ago as a pal. Back then she looked like a high school prom queen. Now she's looking like a young Jackie Gleason. It's amazing. Rosie, 40, has a mannish haircut, wears masculine clothing, and strides around like a guy. And pals say her figure has somehow come to look manly and remarkably less feminine. It's like Rosie had a change of sex, says Matilda Rosenberg, CEO and chief designer for the trendy clothing line Kukla International Inc., whose outfits sell in top L.A. women's stores like Fred Siegel. Kukla?
Okay.
What happened to Fran and Ollie? Physically, she's still a woman, she tells the Globe, but in her mind, Rosie's clearly 100% a man. And Dr. Lois Muller, a psychologist based in Tampa, who counsels many gay women but has never treated Rosie, tells the Globe, she's on her way to becoming as masculine as she can. Emotionally for Rosie, this amounts to a change of sex.
All right.
Another leading researcher on gay and lesbian issues notes that Rosie might go all the way and actually have a sex change. I always told you I thought she had a penis.
Well, now she's going to go get one.
She may be a lesbian who's always felt that she's really a man and may want to pursue her makeover even further by surgically becoming a man, says the expert Dr. Esther Rothblum, a psychology professor at the University of Vermont who's also not treated the star. Whatever her final decision may be, friends point out that there's a stirring story behind Rosie's changing appearance, a saga of hills she's had to climb and obstacles she's overcome. She sent shockwaves when she officially came out during an interview with Diane Sawyer on ABC's Prime Time in March. Rosie says she only started getting real when she dumped her passive girly act from TV, confides another pal. The world has gotten hostile since she came out of the closet, and she's got many battles ahead. If becoming more like a guy than a gal gives her a winning edge, more power to her. Rosie's had come a long way toward finding out who she really is. This person is a woman who's more comfortable looking and behaving like a man. If anyone's got a problem with Rosie's butch way, she could care less. How do you like that? Bafangula, baby. That's the message from Butch Rosie. Bafangula. Rosie took that feisty attitude in her battle with the state of Florida over its law banning gay people from adopting kids. It stunned me to know that Florida, the state where I live, is the only one that doesn't allow gay adoption, she says, of the 77 law. She has 3 children she adopted as a resident of New York. Parker, 7, Chelsea, 4, and Blake, 2. And her longtime gal pal, Kelly Carpenter, is expecting a baby girl later this year. And now that she's looking at manly, you know something? Maybe Rosie impregnated her, you think?
I think it was spores.
Rosie's spokesperson says the changes in her appearance are no big deal, and s'mores, and she cropped her hair for the summer. You got to see this picture. Get the Globe, leaf through it in the checkout. All right. But pals say that it's much more than that and reveal that Rosie couldn't be happier with her new self, cheerfully calling Kelly the little woman. Anybody standing next to her would be the little something, I guarantee you that. And more than being provider and protector of what pals say she calls the wife and kids, Rosie has shown employees at her magazine, Rosie, that she can be just as tough as the next boss man. When colleagues expressed concern that she might turn her magazine into a forum for other lesbians and gay adoption proponents, staffers got a taste of her take-no-prisoners attitude. She marched into the Big Apple offices and read them the Riot Act. If there's one more leak from here to the press, then Rosie is through, she reportedly thundered. All this affects you a lot more than it affects me. I'm already an effing millionaire. Adds her friend, the swaggering way she walks, the gruff way she takes charge and even browbeats people, her short hair and unfeminine clothing all make Rosie seem a little bit more manly every day. How do you like that, huh?
Whatever.
Yeah, butch up. Butch down. Butch down, bitch. Now, let's see. I don't have time for this. After the break, I'll do this one. Bush's father feared expanded role in Iraq, contrary to what a lot of those right-wingers out there like to tell us when we used to take those stupid calls, which were just loaded with misinformation. I mean, if I have the choice between believing something that's well documented and written by a respectable journalist in a respectable rag, then I'll, tend to believe that more than some asshole calling in anonymously on a stupid radio talk show. You know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're talking about.
Reporter, Al-Qaeda eyed nuclear plants, this from the AP. Al-Qaeda considered striking U.S. nuclear facilities in the 9/11 attacks and hasn't ruled out nuclear attacks in the future, an Arab TV reporter who interviewed 2 plotters of the terror attacks said yesterday. Yasri Fouda, correspondent for the satellite station Al Jazeera, told the AP that he was taken blindfolded to a secret location in Pakistan to meet Khalid Sheikh Mohammed and Ramzi bin al-Shib in June interview arranged by al-Qaeda operatives. Fouda said he waited until now to air the audio-taped interview. It's scheduled to run this Thursday on Al Jazeera because he wanted to include it in a documentary marking the first anniversary of the attacks. A videotape of al-Qaeda leader Osama bin Laden released by U.S. officials in December for many established al-Qaeda's responsibility for 9/11. According to Fouda's account, Mohammed and bin al-Shib spell out the link even more clearly. U.S. officials regard Mohammed as one of the highest-ranking al-Qaeda leaders at large and believe he's still planning attacks against U.S. interests. U.S. officials say bin al-Shib was a member of the Hamburg base cell led by Mohammed Atta, the Egyptian-born suspected lead hijacker on 9/11. I am the head of the al-Qaeda military committee, and Ramzi is the coordinator of the Holy Tuesday operation, Fouda quoted Mohammed as saying. September 11th last year fell on a Tuesday, of course. Mohammed said planning began 2.5 years before 9/11 and that the first targets considered were nuclear facilities. We decided against it for fear it would go out of control, Fouda quoted Mohammed as saying. You don't need to know more than that at this stage, and anyway, it was eventually decided to leave out nuclear targets for now. Fouda, speaking by telephone from London, said al-Qaeda operatives told him not to bring any electronic equipment, including a camera or recorder of the interview. The al-Qaeda members videotaped the interview, but instead of sending a copy of the video as they promised, sent him only the audio tape. Fouda said at one point, while he was being led blindfolded to the meeting, said he thought he was going to meet with al-Qaeda leader Osama bin Laden. Fouda said during the 2 days he spent talking to the two, Mohammed once referred to bin Laden in the past tense, and that a sense of disarray led him to believe that bin Laden could be dead. Fouda, an Egyptian reporter and host of Al Jazeera's investigative program Top Secret, said he flew to Islamabad and then to Karachi on al-Qaeda instructions. In Karachi, he was taken blindfolded and via a complicated route to an apartment where he met the two men he recognized as Mohammed and bin al-Shib. Al Jazeera had announced last week it will broadcast the interviews as part of its coverage marking the anniversary of the attacks against the World Trade Center and Pentagon. Fouda wrote about the interview for London's Sunday Times in a story that appeared yesterday. He told the AP he approached the Times to publicize the documentary. He wrote in the newspaper that during the interviews he learned that the U.S. Congress had been the fourth target. Hijacked planes slammed into the... Well, we know that. Fouda also learned Atta had been a sleeper operative in Germany since 1992 and started detailed planning with the 1999 meeting in Afghanistan with other sleepers. Once in the U.S., Atta communicated with higher-ranking al-Qaeda officials via email, Fouda wrote, but when he had determined everything was ready, he telephoned bin al-Shib in Germany to tell him the date using a riddle that referred to the shapes of the numbers 9 and 11. The Qatar-based satellite station Al Jazeera has drawn world attention with its broadcast of interviews with and statements by Osama bin Laden and its top lieutenants. So there you go. Govern yourselves accordingly. 12 minutes after 11 at 560 WQM, we got the Mad Dog.
All right.
The ponderous puppy, the hysterical hound. He's coming up at 1 o'clock. You got Hank Goldberg at 3. Do you realize Hank's got a ball game tomorrow at 4:30?
Lucky man.
Lucky man. Hank's going to condense that show down to about 15 minutes.
That was funny.
He's learning to do what we do best. Me and the Mad Dog and the Humper, man. Work as little as possible and get paid the most.
Oh!
That's the way to do it. You think we're going to get any new copy from Skippy or anybody? No. Oh, there's that pigeon again. Speaking of crap, just lifted his leg. And as soon as I said Skippy, he lifted his leg. How do you like that? You'll fit in real well, Skippy. You're just one of the group. He's probably getting lessons from Todd Dreck. Hey, let me tell you that Oleomed is a product that will make you feel your best and keep you in good health in South Florida, no matter how hot, how humid, how disastrous it gets. Oleomed is a soft gel capsule that's got all kinds of good stuff in it. There's pharmaceutical-grade olive oil along with vitamins and minerals and herbals. And like I've been telling you for a very, very, very long time, with limited copy, they make a product for each different part of your health. There's one for your prostate, one for your heart, your blood pressure, your cholesterol. They also make supplements to promote health in your circulatory system, your digestive, your endocrine system, your skin, your bones, and your mind, all using the best, benefits of the best olive oil you'll find anywhere. And don't forget, Oleomed, like I keep telling you, makes products for men and ladies as well, even maybe one for Rosie. Maybe it'll butcher up a little bit more, but I doubt it. Oleomed is available at Walgreens, Whole Food Markets, Navarro Pharmacy, and Sedanos. If you want to get more information about Oleomed, when you call them, by the way, ask them how come Skippy won't give us any new copy. Call 1-866-OLEOMED. Copy, what's that? 1-866-OLEOMED. And don't forget, you can get that information on their website, too, as well as order this exciting new product. That's OleomedAmerica.com.
Live and local. This is Sports Radio 560, QAM.
A lollipop, little boy?
No!
Everyone in office did the same as me. The only difference was they were a little more discreet. You elected me your president, not your saint.
No matter who you put here, it'll always be the same. From Washington to Bush, they all had something on the side, but the press thought it was best to keep it quiet at the time. It happened back then, and it's never gonna stop. Every president has done the presidential bop. When FDR was giving us a brand new deal, Eleanor was giving chicks a reason to squeal. Eisenhower did it back in World War II. Told his driver that he liked her in the exclusion dude. Nixon liked interpreters that spoke Chinese. And don't get me started on the Kennedys. It happened back then, and it's never gonna stop. 'Cause every president has done the presidential bop. I guess you could say I'm in the minor leagues compared to what went on with the Kennedys. The girls I had all look bad and make you limp. Well, that's because I don't have Peter Lawford for my pimp. And was it a coincidence or just bad luck that Hoover is the name of a vacuum that sucks? It happened back then, and it's never gonna stop. Every president has done the presidential bop. When you're the president, you have to ask yourself, why not? 'Cause every president has done the presidential bop. Can Starmy think it's criminal, but I hope it's not. 'Cause every president has done the presidential bop.
Squirt, squirt. 11:18, it's going to be a week of hysteria, baby. In fact, CNN's on it right now. Searches and sorrow, remembering 9/11. There's more images again. See, television does two things magnificently. Number one, they exploit human misery and suffering. And number two, they desensitize the viewers so that after they show it over and over, it doesn't have any meaning anymore.
Right.
It's like the puppy snuff tapes, you know? After the 50 millionth time they showed it, even the greatest of us dog lovers, it had no meaning anymore. And, of course, I wouldn't watch it more than once anyway. But if you did, it had no meaning. And the same thing with the planes crashing into the Twin Towers and into the Pentagon. Although, you notice we don't see the Pentagon because I guess we don't have that footage.
Right, and that's small potatoes.
Yeah, and that's small potatoes anyway. It was only like, on the outside of the wedge. What was it, 200-300 people died there? Which I noticed that nobody talks about that, about anybody who died at the Pentagon. But nevertheless, moving right ahead, like I said, desensitizing the viewers, and if they show you something over and over again, it's like the thing with the dead little kids, all these, now that they're into that big time.
Right.
I mean, these acts are so grotesque and so unacceptable, and yet because it's on television, oh, gee, isn't that a shame, Let's see if we can find out more about it. Let's see if we can go into a feeding frenzy about it. But the public accepts it. Don't get excited. Just stay calm. Don't get all carried away. See, I have a tendency when I start talking about that to get aggravated. Because they they peddle you this idea that somehow this is the way the world is supposed to be. And yet what they should be doing, and that is exposing the insanity of religious fanaticism, which is what 9/11 was all about, and continues to be, they don't want to deal with that because it's not good for business. Bush's father feared expanded role in Iraq by Walter Pincus, Washington Post staff writer in yesterday's Washington Post. 4 years ago, former President George Herbert Walker Bush wrote that there was unanimity within his administration that the 1991 Persian Gulf War should end once the forces of Iraqi President Saddam Hussein had been driven from Kuwait. Remember all the calls we had from those right-wingers? Sure. Oh, no, it was the Democrats in Congress who wouldn't let them continue. They wouldn't authorize the... You're right.
Those wimps, those wusses.
That's right. Those appeasers. If he had sent U.S. military forces on to Baghdad, Bush asserted in the 1998 book he wrote with Brent Scowcroft, his national security advisor, the U.S. could conceivably still be an occupying power in a bitterly hostile land. That's the same Brent Scowcroft, by the way, who for the last 2 weeks has been rating against this Bush administration and saying that we absolutely have no reason to invade Iraq and would be a grotesque mistake. Trying to eliminate Saddam, extending the ground war into an occupation of Iraq would have violated our guideline about not changing objectives in midstream, engaging in mission creep, and we would have incurred incalculable human and political cost, Bush wrote in the book titled A World Transformed. As the administration of President Bush intensifies its efforts to convince Congress, the American public, and U.S. allies of the need to confront Hussein again, it's also looking at how a policy on Iraq evolved within the first Bush administration 11 years ago. In response to Iraq's invasion of Kuwait in August 1990, the UN Security Council that November authorized the use of force to drive the Iraqis out, but did not make a change of government in Baghdad part of the package. President George Herbert W. Bush and his aides informally decided that although removing Hussein would be beneficial, that goal would not be part of U.S. policy unless the Iraqi president used chemical or biological weapons against U.S. or coalition troops or a neighboring country such as Israel. He did not. Months before the war began in January of 1991, while Pentagon planners were still at work, the White House had discussed the question of Hussein's future. At a December 1990 meeting of senior national security officials, Hussein's removal was set aside, according to Scowcroft, making it a formal goal of the coalition the United States was assembling for the war, well beyond the bounds of the UN resolution guiding us, he wrote. If the United States announced such a goal unilaterally, he added, we would be committing ourselves alone to removing one regime and installing another, and if the Iraqis themselves didn't take matters in their own hands, we'd be facing an indefinite occupation of a hostile state and some dubious nation building. There also was the problem of maintaining the support of Arab countries, such as Saudi Arabia, that were vital to the war. Bush Sr. wrote, we also believe the U.S. should not go it alone. Mounting an effective military counter to Iraq's invasion required the backing and bases of Saudi Arabia and other Arab states. On February 26, 1991, 2 days after U.S. and coalition troops began their successful ground offensive to free Kuwait, Bush wrote in his diary, we would declare an end once I was sure we had met all of our military objectives and fulfilled the UN resolutions. The following day, after then Defense Secretary Richard B. Cheney, could that be the same one? Reported that the southern part of Kuwait was free and that military operations would halt that day or the next, U.S. television screens were filled with pictures of U.S. aircraft, artillery, and tanks pounding Iraqi units fleeing north from Kuwait City to the southern Iraqi city of Basra. The carnage had an effect on the White House. We had all become increasingly concerned over impressions being created in the press about the highway of death from Kuwait City to Basra, Scowcroft wrote. In the Oval Office that afternoon, Bush asked his advisors, including Cheney and General Colin Powell, then chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, if it was time to stop. They decided it was. There was no dissent, Scowcroft wrote. Not even from Dick. How do you like that? Bush later wrote that Robert M. Gates, who was Deputy National Security Advisor at the time, told him, we crushed their 43 divisions, but we stopped. We didn't just want to kill, and history will look on that kindly. There had been a secret plan drawn up by the Army's Chief Operations Officer to seize Baghdad, according to a book by Michael Gordon and General Bernard E. Traynor published in 1995. The plan was circulated after the war ended. While it raised the possibility of a decisive victory, it also opened the door to a protracted occupation of Iraq, which was not the kind of war that Powell or General Norman Schwarzkopf wanted, they wrote. Bush, in his book, laid out other reasons for not sending U.S. forces into Iraq, many of which are being cited by U.S. and foreign opponents to a new military offensive. The coalition would instantly have collapsed, the Arabs deserting it in anger and other allies pulling out as well, Bush 1 wrote. Referring to a doctrine first applied by the Reagan administration, Bush 1 noted, there was no viable exit strategy we could see violating another of our principles. It was also possible that invading Iraq could lead to a breakup of the country, which was opposed by Iraq's Arab neighbors as well as by Turkey, which feared that an independent Kurdish state might be created in northern Iraq, Bush 1 wrote. U.S. intelligence and Arab coalition members had told Bush that defeating Hussein would quickly lead to his being forced out of power. That did not happen. Instead, an uprising among Shiites in southern Iraq was quickly put down by Iraqi forces. A similar attempt by the Kurds in northern Iraq was also squashed. Can't you just hear the Bushis now saying, Shiite? Accused of having encouraged those uprisings, Bush said that although he said removal of Hussein would be welcomed, his fate was up to the Iraqi people. He added that for very practical reasons, there was never a promise to wait an uprising. Cheney, who's taken a lead role as vice president pushing for preparation to take military action against Hussein, played the same role 12 years ago as defense secretary. Bush wrote that months before any operations were launched 11 years ago, while Secretary of State James Baker III was reluctant to contemplate use of force and pressing for diplomacy and sanctions to get the job done, Cheney recognized early that sooner or later it would come down to force. Cheney was probably ahead of his own military on this, Bush wrote. While the military did not appear eager to go to war unless other options had been exhausted, Cheney led the way for the military, leading, not pushing the military to understanding and fulfilling the mission set for them by the president. We don't want to say he's a hawk, do we?
Yes.
But he is. Him and Rummy. 26 after 11 at 560 WQM. How's George doing on a vote, baby? We got 290 votes. A lot of votes pouring in there. How did George do in filling in for Neil this summer? And look at that. You're making slowly but surely. You're making progress back toward that 30%. I don't listen when George is on. 104, 35.8%. Under 36 now. Excellent job. Better than ever. 79. Good. 49. Okay. 31. Weak. 18. And Fair is up too. Look at that. I told you Fair would get some votes.
9.
Yeah, not bad. 26 past 11. We got the Mad Dog coming at 1. Have you heard the news about the 3.95% mortgage? Well, if you've been thinking about it, quit thinking and do something smart. Because now is the time to buy a home or refinance your existing home at the unbelievably low rate of only 3.95%.
Unbelievable.
If you have a 7.5% mortgage, the 3.95% would save you over 3.5% or over $3,500 the first year on a $100,000 mortgage. So to make things easy for yourself, just pick up the phone, make one quick call to Financial Group. They'll tell you all about it. Call 1-800-940-LEND. That's 1-800-940-5363. Getting a mortgage someplace else in the long run is going to cost you a lot of extra money, thousands of dollars this year and next year and every year. Think of all the money you can save when you have a 3.95% mortgage. Financial Group's got thousands of customers just like you they've been helping. Put your financing in the best possible position by getting yourself a 3.95% mortgage. Call Financial Group today, toll free. It's 1-800-940-5363. That's 1-800-940-5363. They're an equal housing lender. Credit restrictions do apply, and rates are subject to change if you wait too damn long.
Live and local. We're Sports Radio 560 QAM.
Iron over here. That you'll ever view.
Yes.
We can't take him anymore. No one's more boring than Vice President Al Gore. No signs of facial expression. Is he alive? With him, then 1 hour seems like 5. 'Cause Gore is the boringest person that you'll ever view. Gore is the boringest person, goes for tip or two. Only one's more wooden than him, Pinocchio. But he'll come to life for Asian guys with lots of dough. Gore is the boringest, he's out. Gore is the scoring fest, he's out. Gore is the boringest person that you'll ever view.
So CNN dutifully doing just what I described before in that article from the Toronto Star. They're discussing, report says Iraq poses nuclear threat, and they're showing pictures of them setting the oil fields on fire from the Gulf War.
Right.
And, of course, those pictures with the gigantic balls of fire. Looks like nuclear explosions, is it?
No.
In fact, I'll tell you something. The scene at the World Trade Center from last year, that looks more like a nuclear explosion than this did.
Right.
Don't you think so?
Sure. Left a crater.
Jeff, hi, now what is this? Is this the inside poop on what's going on in the station?
Yeah, I just got a spy report.
Spy report, Jeff High, a.k.a. Fat Boy, a.k.a. Tuballard, can't close the stall door when he poops. Oh, man. I may not be coming back. Either that or I'm going to tell you one thing. I'm going to get up an extra hour early in the morning and really evacuate heavy duty, so to speak.
Since we brought everything else in here, maybe you could get a little stall installed.
Oh man, I don't want to see that. I don't want to walk in there to take a leak and have that handicapped stall door open and him in there in his full regalia and the chair and the whole. Oh. Bush ratings down on foreign policy. President Bush's overall rating has slid steadily downward over the summer, largely because of a major withering of support in the way he's conducting foreign policy, 2 polls be finding. A CBS News New York Times poll released Saturday also found a majority of Americans thinks Bush lacks a clear plan to carry out his war on terror. Overall, the poll found that 63% approve of the way Bush is doing his job. While strong for a president almost 2 years on the job, the number is down 3 points from the summer 66% rating and down 24 points from his 87% approval rating soon after the attacks of last 9/11. It found 54% support his foreign policy. Only 2 months ago, 68% approved his foreign policy, and last fall the level stood at almost 3/4. Before 9/11, just under half the respondents approved his foreign policy performance. A Washington Post poll published in yesterday's edition found that Bush's approval rating is now 69%, down 23 points from the high of 92% registered by Post pollsters in October. It also found that 70% now approve of the way he's managing the war on terrorism, down 13 points from July and 22 points from October's high. The Times CBS poll also found that while almost 2 out of 3 feel Bush has not explained his position on Iraq sufficiently, Americans generally support his preemptive policy against Saddam Hussein. Not that they're propagandizing or planting the seeds, you understand?
Of course not.
Don't forget, go out and pick up the Inquirer or just take a peek at it. Peek at the picture on the front cover and then inside, what page? 34 through 30-something? 36, 7? Patsy Ramsey, man, looks like hell on wheels. Worse than Fat Boy, but we'll get to that. This thing you just faxed to me?
Yes.
From the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, and of course we're warming up for tonight's game, the Patriots and the Steelers. I got to confess, I did call yesterday and I got the NFL package. Isn't that embarrassing to admit to that?
No.
Well, I saw a little bit of the Dolphins against that little girls' team yesterday, a joke. And I did see the end of the Bills-Jets game. I saw quite a bit of that game. Did not see the end of the Cleveland-Kansas City game, although they've shown the low light on that about 50 times. But it's, it's worth having on a Sunday. But tonight, of course, on ABC, Al Michaels, who was on Yenting with Mo Cheswick this morning, and John Madden make their network debut in the regular season game. Good pair, man. They got rid of that silly goose. What did I tell you about Dennis Miller? Didn't I tell you forget about him? Did I tell you that?
Yes.
Get rid of him. Piece of crap. I could have saved them a lot of embarrassment with that, but they don't ask me. Anyway, Mark Madden, no relation to John, writes in the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette this past Saturday, with Jerome Bettis accused of sexual assault, the Steelers face something they certainly don't need as they begin a season filled with so much promise. An unnecessary distraction. Forgive me if I take a Greensburg woman's personal tragedy, be it real or perceived, and analyze its relevance to football, but this is the sports page. By being involved in an unseemly situation, Bettis has opened himself up to countless catcalls from opposing fans, and Steeler fans too if he performs poorly. Can't wait for the first pulled groin joke. The situation will be discussed endlessly on talk shows. I don't presume to judge Bettis' guilt or innocence, although this seems like a he-said, she-said situation with no witnesses, and that tends to favor the accused. But even when you beat the rap in a sex case, everyone remembers that you were involved with something sleazy. I can't fault Bettis for picking up women. He's a young, single guy. As for doing so during training camp, I hope nobody expects all the Steelers to put sex on hold until after the Super Bowl. That's draconian, he wrote, sending you scurrying for a dictionary. There's one thing I do know. If I ever feel the need to commit a crime, I'm doing it in Greensburg. Bettis is accused of sexually assaulting a woman August 21st. The woman filed a report with police that same night. The Greensburg police didn't get around to questioning Bettis until 2 days ago, and only then did so because the Post-Gazette came nosing around. It's not like Bettis is hard to find. He's been at the Steelers' Southside practice complex the past 2 weeks. The Greensburg police... By the way, have you ever been to Mountain View Inn in Greensburg?
No.
Excellent food. I actually stayed there one time. The Greensburg police clearly tried to give Bettis the celebrity exemption, perhaps dragging their feet in the hope the alleged victim would drop her complaint. The Greensburg police should have disguised themselves as members of the sports media and walked around with microphones, cameras, tape recorders, and notebooks. They wouldn't have had the need to look for Bettis. He would have looked for them. He has an addiction to attention. Bettis is, by all accounts, a very nice guy, but we shouldn't use that as self-evident truth to assume his innocence or to assume that he's totally incapable of doing anything bad. When Al Martin played for the Pirates, he was widely hailed as the most affable human being to set foot in a big league clubhouse. Turns out he was a bigamist who told bald-faced lies about a fictional college football career. This doesn't mean Bettis is guilty of being a bad human being, much less guilty of any crime, but it does mean we really don't know what pro athletes are like. You can't judge a man by his quotes in the paper or by his sound bites on radio and TV, and we as sports journalists can't judge an athlete by the fleeting few moments he or she deigns to spend with us. I would guess this whole incident likely will blow over. No charges have been filed, and a case without a witness is hard to prosecute. But the discussion and corresponding distraction will outlive the legal matter. Pittsburgh loves hot rumor much more than cold hard facts. It'll be interesting to see Bettis' reaction if the fans give him a hard time. Memo to Jerome, 100 yards against the Patriots guarantees this will not happen. How do you like that last line there? Kind of cute. 100 yards my ass, Jerome, okay? Up your ass. Patriots tonight, Tommy Brady. Anybody going to be watching?
Yes.
George might even be watching that. I doubt it.
What?
Big game tonight, baby. Monday Night Football. Aren't you ready for some football? Come on, man. Give me the ball. Give me the ball. You ready for some football? Remember that call?
Yes.
Down on the second floor? It's one of those memorable calls. Almost as memorable as the guy who said, I can't relate to the people who voted for Gore. Almost as memorable as that, not quite. Neil, are you ready for some smash mouth? This was some Schwarzer. Ready for some smash mouth, M-O-U-F, football? F-O-O-B-A-L-L? L? And I said, no. Oh, look at that.
55-yard touchdown pass in the fourth quarter pushed the Texans.
How about those Houston Texans?
Oh!
I saw the end of that game, too, beating up on the Cowboys. And I saw that Jerry Jones on the sideline. Man, I hate that son of a bitch. Anyway, 20 till noon. Am I starting getting too football intensive? Yes. We'll get off of that, and we'll get on to John Bonet in a second. Got to see the pictures. You won't believe it. And, of course, you, being the hard-ass son of a bitch that you are, you'll be chortling and chuckling at her misery.
I'm going to revel.
Anyway, let me tell you about one person we're reveling in, and that's the Beast. He looks so much better. Man, he looks almost human. Underline the almost part. He's lost 53 pounds. I bet you by the end of this week when he weighs in again, he's starting to get close to 60, you know?
Close to 60, right.
No, I'm serious. I bet you by the end of the week he's edging toward the 60-pound mark. He's looking pretty damn good for him. And you can do the same thing. You can lose weight, get healthy, and have great-tasting, delicious meals every day. In fact, Balance for Life puts so much damn food in a little black sack. Some days you might have a hard time finishing it, but that's the idea because it's based on the principles of the zone diet, the premise and principles. So you really need to eat all of that food. 3 delicious gourmet meals, 2 delicious snacks, and they deliver it right to your doorstep by 6 o'clock every morning in that very important little black sack. Even a 16-ounce bottle of water is in there, too. And if you eat all of that food, you'll be amazed at how full it keeps you, number one. Number two, how delicious all the food is, made with the freshest, the best ingredients you can find anywhere, and how fast the weight just pours off. And they let you choose between 2 alternatives for each meal every single day that you're on the program, too. How long can you afford to be overweight, out of shape, lethargic, diabetic? Dying is basically what it's all about. So get yourself in shape, lose that weight, and stop being frustrated because it's the easy way to do it. You don't have to count calories, carbs, anything else. All you have to do is open your little black sack every day. Let Balance for Life take care of all the details. Call them at 954-568-3229. And I guarantee you, no time at all, you'll look better than the beast. 954-568-3229. Or visit them on their website at balanceforlife.com.
Live and local. This is Sports Radio 560. QAM.
Know that the Lord even loves Neil Rogers.
My dad knocked me off. He raped me when he tied me up. When I was young, but hey, Ramsey, I was killed by my daddy. My dad knocked me off. I was his little queenie. It's not a media mystery. My mom's the one who knows. He beat me and beat me with the rubber hose and bashed my head, as you know. He's wealthy and owns most of Colorado, so they're gonna let him go. My dad knocked me off. He needed me to get it up, so he's the one who did it. You'll never hear him admit it, but my daddy knocked me off. But my daddy knocked me off.
John Bonet cops shred Ramsey alibi. New evidence found as Patty's health fails. And here's the pictures in the Enquirer this week. If you're sadistic like George, you want to go right out and get
Look
the
at that.
Enquirer several copies? Huh?
She looks like Robert Blake on a bad day.
Have you seen him?
Him?
No, I'm talking about have you seen these pictures?
No, I can't wait.
Oh, we'll get to him, by the way. I got a story about him if I have time. And he looks worse than she does.
I know, that's why I said that.
Oh, my God. He's now gaunt and white-haired. Before jail, he dyed his hair jet black. It shows the before and then the current. Robert Blake's a changed man. But Beretta brags he'll be shooting again. TV, that is. Well, we'll get to that much later. Well, we'll have time. 325 votes on a poll. They're pouring in for George or against George or about George. This is the kind of poll the audience likes, see? Now what's going to happen Wednesday? They don't give a crap about that. They don't know anyway, any more than you know or I know or anybody else. How the hell do we know what's going to happen in the next half hour, for all we know? Station could go off the air. The story could come in on the Internet about the station being sold to Entercom. We don't know. And sure as hell nobody going to tell us anything because they lie a lot. That's the nature of the business. They lie through their teeth. And then, of course, if the sale does go through, then, Greg will, stand up there and scratch his head making that, well, we couldn't make any money with you assholes, so we'll see if they can do it. That kind of thing. And, of course, George has got his fingers and eyes and legs crossed. I don't know why. You got a real good ally there in the morning.
Beast?
No. Mo Cheswick. 325 votes. Remember Mr. Cheswick from Cuckoo's Nest? I want my cigarette. That's what we got in the morning. Mo Cheswick. That's my new name for Mo. 325 votes. How did George do filling in for Neil this summer, we asked? I don't listen when George is on. 118, 36.3%. I think that's about, didn't I say between 30 and 40?
Yes.
Well, you can't get much more between 30 and 40 than maybe exactly 35. Excellent job, better than ever, 91, 28%. That's a pretty good endorsement, a ringing endorsement for little George. And, of course, keep in mind, speaking of Mo, Drek, whatever his name is, Mo Cheswick, that if it was up to him, if he would have had his way, George wouldn't have been there this summer. God only knows what kind of crap he would have. Maybe he'd have had the Al Gore of radio, Joe Zagacki on there. Excellent job, 93, better than ever. Good, 60. Okay, 34. Weak, 18, and fair, 11. So if you add up the percentages, let's see, weak and, 40, so it's like 60 to 40, you're in the lead. How do you like that?
All right.
I'll take it. Yeah, sure, why the hell not? In addition to which, let me say it again, Georgia, by keeping 60% of what we got here during the rest of the year, sure as hell's got a lot bigger numbers than they have in certain other day parts. I don't want to mention any times or day parts or names, Mo. And isn't it convenient he left out the meat of that story to protect his own ass? That story with that Charles Elmore in Palm Beach in the Post. Oh, he didn't want to go into the details. Of course he doesn't want to go into the details because he doesn't want to tell a reporter or anybody else in the goddamn world, which is why he's pissed off that he tried to get your little ass fired like an overgrown child. If you don't fire George, I'm walking out. And that kind of crap. And then all of a sudden when he lost his gig with Westwood One and QAM and the Dolphin thing became his only deal, then all of a sudden he adopted a whole different tune. Did you notice? Right. I noticed. And he hasn't listened since the 3rd of June. Oh, yeah, right. But gang rape's not funny. Don't forget about that. Gang rape's not funny. But he hasn't listened since June. Does anybody believe that?
No.
He's listening right now. He's got this thing cranked up so loud he can hear the president speaking in the background.
It's technology that the Prime Minister and I just saw.
See, there you go. Oh, and by the way, they hate... I don't know how Froggy keeps staying in power here, you know, Chrétien? Everybody seems to hate him like poison. The newspapers, the letters to the editor, they got billboards all over town here about Chrétien, just ripping him an ass about what a liar he is and his time has run out and, you know, and they don't trust a guy who speaks out of one corner of his mouth, which means all frogs, of course. John Bonet, cops shred Ramsey alibi. New evidence found as Patsy's health fails. Bursting into tears, a shattered Patsy Ramsey collapsed in front of relatives after learning newly released police evidence destroys her claims that John Bonet was murdered by a stranger. The discovery by cops has made her already failing health even worse, disclosed an insider. The former beauty queen's downhill slide is shocking, as exclusive Inquirer photos reveal. Chemotherapy treatments for advanced liver cancer caused her colored chestnut brown hair to fall out, and the returning stubble is tinged with gray, and stubble is, is the word. Her weight is approaching 180 pounds. She's ballooned up like a bullfrog, like Jerry Lewis's head. While trying to get her life back on track, John Bonet's mom was recently tipped that cops are beefing up evidence against her and husband John. Patsy exploded, lashing out at police, revealed a family insider. She yelled, "Those dumb SOBs don't know what they're doing. God damn it." She seemed flabbergasted that police were still saying the Ramseys did it. Family members were frightened she was going to pass out. In the midst of her fiery tirade, Patsy, already weakened by her ongoing life-or-death cancer battle, completely fell apart. She started crying and collapsed to her knees, screaming, "I can't take it anymore. This is crazy. This is crazy. We'll never be free of this," disclosed a source. And you know who else won't ever be free of it?
Who?
John Bonet.
Oh.
The emotional turmoil is extremely hard on Patsy. An eyewitness who spotted her right before the Labor Day weekend told the Inquirer she's 45 but looks about 60. The Inquirer has learned that Patsy's shocking breakdown is just part of a recent pattern of bizarre behavior that clearly indicates she's cracking and possibly even experiencing pangs of guilt, say insiders and leading mental health experts. We discovered that Patsy, an amateur artist, has been creating a series of eerie paintings. And experts we consulted say these shocking, surreal creations expose for the first time her highly agitated state of mind. In one of them, Patsy painted all the people she feels are out to get her, say family acquaintance. Not that she's paranoid or anything, do you understand?
I understand.
There's Steve Thomas, the former Boulder detective who wrote a book accusing Patsy of murdering John Bonet. Not to be confused with Stevie Thomas, the hockey player who played twice for the Maple Leafs and then the Blackhawks. Tom Colby, the former Boulder police chief. Mike Kane, the special prosecutor who failed to win an indictment when he presented the case to a grand jury. And other investigators who targeted the Ramseys. In the chilling painting, Patsy's villains are arrayed around her Boulder house, pointing accusingly at it, the Inquirer has learned. In another startling painting, Patsy has melded her husband John and herself into one person. They're standing in front of a dead tree with a fire blazing behind it. The paintings can definitely be an indication that Patsy is collapsing mentally and unconsciously expressing guilt, famed Beverly Hills psychiatrist and relationship expert Dr. Carol Lieberman, who has not treated Patsy, told the Inquirer. In the first painting, she has her accusers arranged in a semicircle, pointing fingers of guilt. The semicircle represents the noose tightening around her. The painting with the dead tree and fire and Patsy and John shown as one person is very telling. Patsy could be revealing she feels the heat of the investigation closing in on her and that she and John share the guilt. The tree itself could be her family tree, which is destroyed. Fire also represents passion or sex, and it raises the question of whether Patsy is admitting that John Bonet was sexually abused. Famed psychiatrist Judy Ann Denson-Gerber, an expert in criminal matters, has not treated Patsy, but is convinced she's stressed to the breaking point. She's had to fight the return of the cancer. She's the mother of a murdered child, and her paintings now show she's obsessed with a killing, Dr. Gensen Gerber told the Inquirer. All of these things add up to a lot of pressure. And if she also knows she did it, she's headed for a total mental collapse. Well, there you go. That's enough of that. There's more to it. Go out and buy the Inquirer, okay? They like it if I get you to go out and buy the... And just to look at the pictures, for those of you who can't read.
Inquirer or the Globe?
No, that one's in the Inquirer.
Okay.
The other one, now don't get them confused. The one on Rosie, that was the Globe. And you got to get that too. In fact, this would be a good way. And there's a good thing for you. This Wednesday, the 11th, instead of turning on your TV set and getting bogged down all like, oh, here's Froggy.
I see in Canada that the country is run by women. The Governor General is a woman. The Chief Justice is a woman. And my wife is a woman.
Well, that's good to know.
There he is. There's Froggy for you. And you wonder why they want him out, huh? Probably rubbing it in. And look at there's W. He's chartling. He's laughing. Anyway, here's an editorial in the Boston Globe yesterday. Insecure Airlines. It says the arrest August 29th in Sweden of a man with U.S. flight school experience. That's the one who had a Pembroke Pines address? Okay. The arrest August 29th in Sweden of a man with U.S. flight school experience trying to carry a handgun onto the plane was just the most recent reminder that airline safety is critical a year after 9/11. An open, industrialized country like the U.S. is full of targets for terrorists, but the vulnerability of airplanes will always make them especially inviting. Airlines' concerns about passenger impatience with delay should not be allowed to interfere with thorough inspection of travelers and their bags. One immediate improvement was the strengthening of cockpit doors. Some pilots find this inadequate or asking permission to carry handguns, but the airlines raise a sensible objection to this. While we're spending literally billions of dollars to keep dangerous weapons off aircraft, the heads of 21 airlines wrote to senators, the idea of intentionally introducing thousands of weapons into the system appears to be dangerously counterproductive. Examination of checked luggage by explosive detecting machines has improved slightly, but airports say they'll have difficulty meeting the December 31 deadline for 100% compliance. Logan Airport, to its credit, is working to get the devices in place. The failure of the federal government and the producers of the machines not to ramp up production after 9/11 has been a signal defeat in the war against terrorism. The airlines now do a positive matching of bags with passengers. With passengers, so no accompanied luggage gets on board. Boy, poorly written in the Globe. But only on the first legs of flights. The airlines feared that bag matching would cause unacceptable delays on connecting flights. Although a recent trial in Chicago showed this was not the case, matching should be required on all flights. Arnold Barnett, professor of operations research at MIT, who specializes in airline safety, sees gains since 9/11, but says some improvements might be lost because of pressure from the airlines. While the airlines fret over the customers they lose to rail or car travel because of security-related hassles, they should be more worried about the fate of their industry if weak security leads to another airline hijacking or bombing. Excellent point in yesterday's Boston Globe. That's right. If we have one more, the party's over, baby. They'll all be bust. Am I right?
Right.
That would be the end.
% of our two-way trade, or $120 billion US travels the bridge.
Get him out of here. 11:56 at 560 WQAM. Hey, Castaway Seafood Company knows seafood. That's what George said. He said it is sensational. They pride themselves on serving you the freshest seafood available. Fresh fish that is never frozen, prepared the way you love it, grilled, blackened, or broiled. Signature Castaway's dishes include sesame seared tuna, cracked conch, and unbelievable homemade chowders. Castaway's also features grilled certified Angus beef, burgers, filet mignon, or a humongous New York strip. Castaways offers great daily lunch, early bird specials, and every Wednesday night is karaoke night and ladies' night with free drinks for the ladies. Join the Castaways tailgate party at the Hogfish Bar for a weekend and Monday night football specials while you watch your favorite games. Like tonight, baby. Patriots kick ass on the Steelers, we hope. Castaway Seafood Company with a full bar open 7 days a week, located on the southwest corner of University Drive at Griffin Road in Davie. If you're looking to cater your next home or office party, here's the place to do it for you, Castaways. Castaway Seafood Company, seafood so fresh it might bite you on the ass.
Live and local. This is Sports Radio 560. QAM.
Now I do believe it be the 1 to 12 hour.
Okay?
Plan. The vast majority of the people who cross our border pose no risk to either country. To ensure that such low-risk individuals are able to travel...
I'm sitting here, I can't restrain myself. Were you watching this at all?
No.
A couple of minutes ago, during the middle of the break, I only wish we would have been on the air at the time, what he's doing is he's doing his speech, and then every now and then he'll, repeat several sentences in French. The expression "fish out of water" was never more appropriate because the Bushmeister was sitting there off to his right. And when he started doing the first line in French, W reached up and scratched the side of his head. You know how Greg is always doing the top of his head with that same quizzical, with that whimsical look on his puss, huh? What? Fish out of water, baby. That's our leader.
Oi!
Air congestion, a hot Enron, and unhung chads, write Andres Martinez in yesterday's New York Times. On September 11th, Al Gore told... I wasn't ready for this. I didn't realize this was in here. On September 11th, Al Gore told Oprah Winfrey and her 7 million viewers that Wheaties was his favorite cereal. Elsewhere in Chicago, Aubrey Harvey Jr., a 51-year-old supervisor with Argenbright Security who served at Chicago O'Hare's United Terminal, was being feted. He'd just been named the FAA's National Screener of the Year. No doubt happy to change the subject from the crowded terminals and delays that have made flying such a nightmare, Jane Garvey, the agency's administrator, had offered this praise for him 3 days earlier. Maintaining constant vigilance while processing passengers at one of the busiest airports in the world is a tremendous achievement. It was the year 2000. The following year's award ceremony fortuitously would be moved up to August. On Wall Street, on that last ordinary 9/11, shares of Enron, touted by Fortune magazine as the nation's most innovative company for 5 straight years, closed at $86 near its all-time high. Polls showed that Florida, once thought to be in the pocket of George W. Bush, was turning out to be a toss-up. Presidential candidates hate playing defense, but when Mr. Bush arrived in Florida on that day, he did a good job of seeming pleased to say, "I plan quite a few visits here." Meanwhile, Patrick Buchanan, the Reform Party candidate, was fighting just to get on the Florida ballot. Mr. Bush could never have imagined that the success of his candidacy would wind up hinging on a combination of Mr. Buchanan's success in that effort and one county's infamous butterfly-shaped ballot, so peculiar are history's narrative building blocks. Americans were a rather self-satisfied lot in that seemingly distant fall of 2000. We had dodged the year 2000 bullet, and let's face it, the technology concerns masked plenty of more apocalyptic millennial anxieties and appeared ready to coast through the second consecutive American century. The presidential race reflected that complacency, with much of the debate, lockboxes, tax cuts, new benefits, and the rest of it, focused on the art of managing the nation's surplus bounty. Foreign policy made only a token appearance on the campaign trail. The stakes seemed so low that more than ever, the voters felt they could focus on candidates' personalities rather than their experience. Sure, the stock market had fallen from its springtime highs, but most investors couldn't imagine that they were standing on the edge of a cliff instead of in one of those buying opportunity dips. The dot-com frenzy might have died down, but proven high-growth blue chips like Enron offered refuge. The company had recently signed a 20-year deal with Blockbuster to offer movies on demand over its broadband network, and analysts gushed that within 5 years, telecom bandwidth trading could generate more revenue than Enron's energy business. Enron keeps inventing markets, the editors at Fortune magazine marveled, not knowing the half of it. Abby Joseph Cohen, the influential Goldman Sachs strategist, was predicting that the overall market would start rebounding in November. The mega-merger between J.P. Morgan and Chase Manhattan, announced the week of 9/11, seemed to indicate that the party on Wall Street was far from over. Some 2,500 vanished NASDAQ points later, now we know better. Hindsight cast a brooding sense of foreboding onto that tranquil fall of 2000. It's not unlike the ominous foreshadowing that runs through Ian McEwan's masterly portrait of life in a grand English manor house on the eve of World War II and Atonement, his most recent novel, or that historians bring to their accounts of the carefree summer vacations enjoyed by Europe's royalty in the summer of 1914. Americans in that fall of 2000 were poised to suffer 3 cataclysmic shocks over the next year that would challenge their sense of invulnerability. We were about to discover that we could be incapable of resolving a disputed presidential election without the intervention of a court, and that widespread corruption undermined the integrity of our financial markets. Worst of all, we would suffer the most devastating attack ever on the U.S. mainland. Historians looking back will scratch the placid surface and mock our complacency. They'll make much of Ehud Barak's downcast mood as he returned home from New York on that 9/11, less than 3 weeks before a new Palestinian uprising, having stated that the window of opportunity was closing on the Middle East peace process. They'll highlight a mountain of studies showing how rickety our voting equipment had become, and the diligent efforts of U.S. Commission on National Security, led by former Senators Gary Hart and Ward Rudman, to sound an alarm about the dangers of terrorism. Much too will be made, and rightly so, of Arthur Levitt's efforts to crack down on the conflicts of interest faced by auditing firms that also provide clients with consulting services. Mr. Levitt, then the SEC chairman, held public hearings in New York the week of September 11th to promote his proposal to ban such conflicts, but hardly anyone except the industry lobbyists paid any attention to it. Mr. Levitt was ultimately forced to accept the watering down of his proposal. To look back is to be consumed by a sense of helplessness. That September in 2000, Mohammed Atta, already in Florida, applied to trade in his tourist visa for a student visa so he could take flying lessons. Another one of the men who had hijacked 4 airliners a year later, Hani Hanjour, was granted his student visa in Saudi Arabia on September 25th so he could attend a language school in California. He made it to America but never bothered showing up at the school. Al-Qaeda was about to strike against the Cole, an American naval destroyer in Yemen. Intelligence agencies were reported to have obtained a copy of the terrorist organization's chilling training manual. It was shared with prosecutors preparing to try in New York in a courtroom those implicated in the 1998 bombing of the American embassies in Africa. The trial the following spring set out in painstaking detail Al-Qaeda's intentions and capabilities, but few Americans paid much attention. We couldn't be bothered. We were coasting. Writes Andre Martinez in yesterday's New York Times. We were coasting. Pair quiz for terrorist links. Stuttgart. The only reason I'm using this story is because I like saying Stuttgart.
Say it again.
Stuttgart, Germany. Stuttgart. German investigators have failed to find any links between a pair arrested on suspicion of planning an attack on a U.S. Army base and the Al-Qaeda terror group. The Turkish man and his American fiancée were detained Thursday near Heidelberg, southwest Germany, home to a U.S. military base after a tip-off from the U.S. authorities. How's the old Heidelberg doing? Still open? Yes. Remember I was asking about the German restaurants?
Yes, you were.
Bavarian Village and the old Heidelberg. See how my mind is sharpened up here, eh? It feared the pair, who had a picture of Osama Yamama bin Laden in their apartment, were planning a terror attack on the base. Police also found 287 pounds of chemicals and 5 pipe bombs, as well as a book about bomb making during a search of the couple's third-floor apartment in the small town of Waldorf. But German Interior Minister Otto Schily said no evidence existed that they'd been recruited by the terror network, blamed for the 9/11 attacks on the World Trade Center and Pentagon. Based on what we know so far, we're dealing with an individual who's shown no indication of participation in a terrorist network. He was quoted by the AP as telling Antenne Bayern Radio. It seems we're dealing with a dangerous individual with an Islamic background. Oh, not again! Federal prosecutors are reviewing the evidence said in a statement. It must be clarified whether the male suspect acted alone, whether the two acted together, whether they planned the terror attack in Heidelberg as members of a terrorist organization. The pair have been named as Oman Padmetzi, 25, who worked at a chemical warehouse in Karlsruhe, and Astrid Ezagiri, E-Y-Z-A-G, Ezagiri, 23, who had a job at a base store. She would have had access to many facilities at Campbell Barracks, which is home to the U.S. Europe headquarters, the Army's 5th Corps headquarters and NATO facility. It's not clear how dangerous the chemicals found might have been, as police didn't reveal what kind they were. Well, they were just storing up, like squirrels store up nuts.
Right.
Doesn't everybody with a brain stir up their nuts? 369 votes on the poll today so far, as the votes are pouring in here. How did George do filling in for Neil this summer? For whatever reason, we always get a lot of votes on this. You know it every year?
No, I don't know.
Well, because you're a controversial guy, I guess. I don't listen when George is on. 129, 34.9%. It's dropped under 35 for the first time.
Oh!
How do you like that?
I like it.
Well, of course, don't count your nuts before your squirrel hatches them.
This is really important, though.
What do you mean by that?
Doesn't my job hang on this?
No, it hangs on whether Mo has another snit.
Oh.
That's Mo Cheswick. I don't listen when George is on. 129. Excellent job, better than ever. 105, 28.4%. That's pretty good. That's a pretty good ringing endorsement, you know what?
I'll take it.
Good, 65. Okay, 40. So you add those up, you got 44. Right there is 55%. Weak, 18, and fair is all the way up to 12. So that's there's the result so far. Speaking of elections, don't forget tomorrow, Election Day. Dade County, vote no on 242. The last thing, forget about me being a fag, the last thing Dade County needs is more Anita Bryant embarrassment. I mean, let's face it. And if even Mayor Pinga Pequeña is out there campaigning, even though he doesn't know what he's talking about, if even he is opposed to these Farbissina, like this Armesto Gonzalez Rodriguez Schwartz bitch, whatever her name is, I wish you would have seen that with Donahue.
I do too, but it would have made me sick.
Oh, you know something? Oh, no. Oh.
Uh-oh.
I'm gonna have to go into my garbage. You want to know why?
Why?
I'll do it during the break, because on the back, you know how sometimes there are good stories on the back of both pages? On the back of the Rosie story, there was a thing about O'Donohue, O'Donohue.
About
Rosie
Phil O'Donohue.
And the fact that there ain't nobody watching his show, and he's in great jeopardy, and he's so desperate he wants to get Michael Jackson on with him, and this one.
Oh,
and that.
Please don't. Please.
Desperate. He's desperate. Desperate.
It's not a bad show.
You what?
It's not a bad show the times I remember to watch it.
I don't know.
I like the pace.
I mean, I'll tell you one thing. It's certainly no Bill O'Reilly. It sure as hell beats the hell out of that. Unfortunately, though, Bill O'Reilly's beating the crap out of him because there's a lot of right-wing assholes out there and a lot of very naive people who are buying the showbiz thing, who think it's a real show.
Right.
Who think that O'Reilly actually is a person of substance as opposed to just a psychotic ego who makes it up as he goes along and never has any facts right. Hey, forget about that. We don't care about... See, because basically that's what it boils down to is most people don't care about the substance. They only care about the style. You know that line, sell the sizzle?
Right.
Well, that's what it's all about. And he gets on there and he pontificates and he interrupts and, don't confuse me with the facts and, you're wrong, because it's all about him. And there are a lot of schmucks out there who like Fox News because they like the the fascist news network. And they also, the fact that Shepard Slepper Smith is on there, it makes me want to cry. Have you ever seen his performance on there?
No.
He is so amateur hour. He is so inarticulate. And the women on that Fox News, what the hell's that one broad's name that's on the weekend with a silly-ass name? They're all like got that orange pasty face. Well, let's not go back into that again, okay, please. Because the good news is, guess what I don't get up here?
Fox News?
Oh! Absolutely correct, sir, and I'm very happy with that.
Hey, I would trade Fox News for the drive-in classics, I'll tell you what.
Oh, drive-in classics, and how about we throw Scream in there, too?
Oh, please?
Can't have it. 12 minutes past noon at 560 WQM. Here's something you can have, a great new mattress. Well, I'm going to tell you, if you don't get a good night's sleep every night, every single night of your life, you feel like crap. You're tossing, you're turning, your back especially will tell you the message. Get me a new mattress. And if you want to get a great new mattress, the unbeatable deal is Dial a Mattress. I've been using them for several years now, and of course, you get a new mattress, it lasts you for a long time, but they don't last forever, even the best mattresses in the world. So when the old one has had it, pick up the phone, make one easy call, just sit there on your very lazy ass like me, and call Dial a Mattress, 1-800-MATTRESS. They will steer you in the right direction. You'll talk to bedding experts who know the bedding business inside and out, and they'll hook you up with exactly the type of mattress you want. And when it comes to brands, they got the best in the world. No off-brands, no seconds, no crap. They got Serta, Sealy, Simmons, King Coil, and of course because they got the deepest selection of brand name mattresses, they'll never switch you into one you didn't want in the first place. You'll get exactly the one you're looking for, and it's ready for immediate delivery right now, just about. They give you a delivery any 2-hour window that's convenient when you're going to be home any day, 7 days a week. And that 30-day in-home comfort trial, which is so important because instead of like having to sleep on a goddamn plastic for like, I don't mean sleep, like lay down on it in the store for 10 seconds, you get to try your new Dial a Mattress for up to 30 days to make sure it's the right one for you and your back. Pick up the phone right now. You'll be sleeping like a little child as soon as tonight and call Dial a Mattress. Tell them that old Neil told you to call. 1-800-MATTRESS, 1-800-MATTRES, or check them out on the web at mattress.com.
Live and local. This is 560. The radio's all yours now. QAM.
Just tell me what your problem is.
Ramadan, 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 Ramadan. It means a lot to me. Ramadan, Ramadan, Ramadan. I'm bowing on my knees so I can well and wide. I'm the hustling, bustling Muslim all the way. I pray for painful death to pigs in USA. My religion says that you must die in the sky on your next flight. I want you to die today. Ramadan, Ramadan, Ramadan. Allah is proud of me. Ramadan, Ramadan, Ramadan. I follow brainlessly with no regard for humankind. Bow, bow, bow. Ramadan, 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 Ramadan. Bow, bow, bow. I want to celebrate the Ramadan, Ramadan, Ramadan. Allah will be proud of me. Ramadan, Ramadan, Ramadan. Ramadan, Ramadan, Ramadan. Ramadan, Ramadan, Ramadan. Bow, bow, bow.
Don't forget, Janet couldn't win a fixed election. We like you, Janet. You're okay. We like your pickup truck. It's real snazzy, and we like everything about you. But she couldn't win a fixed election. And in Florida, that seems to be the run-of-the-mill, fixed elections.
Right.
Bill McBride for Democratic candidate for governor because he's got Jeb on the run, baby. He's giving them the runs. In fact, it wouldn't surprise me if they have to get like a whole bunch of phony prescriptions for the whole family. That's how nervous they are about McBride getting winning. Anyway, here's great facts. Neil, could you please provide me with the name of the art gallery that's representing Patsy Ramsey? I collect the highly sought-after works of mass murderers, child killers, and assorted social deviants. I'm eagerly awaiting O.J. Simpson's clay sculptures. God bless you. Signed, Steve Kane. Excellent. Very good work. Also, WL, who's one of our chronic but pretty good faxers, says George was excellent. He's improved a great deal. I liked his discussions of the church, his Repo Man anecdotes, movie reviews, and the nasty, dirty sex stuff.
Boy!
The 9/11 anniversary media onslaught is very depressing. And don't forget, we're not going to be doing it Wednesday. We're going to be playing mostly comedy bits all day Wednesday. We'll keep our eye peeled, just in case something happens, but nevertheless, give you a few laughs instead of getting all depressed. I got to tell you, I see those images over and over again. It doesn't mean anything anymore.
Right.
Also, WL wants to know, where did the
Anthrax
sound drop come from, the movie The Omega Man? Can you please put it on the website along with the scream and the two sets of lips? See, WL unfortunately wasn't listening on that day, not too many days after they started finding the horrendous thing happen up there in Boca at the Inquirer building. What do they call that building?
Oh, jeez.
Well, whatever that building is, where all the tabloids are printed. Anyway, after Bob Stevens died, they started doing the whole thing with anthrax. And I was railing about the fact that that's all we hear about. I mean, on and on. And Rumsfeld was speaking, and I said, the last thing we need to hear about again is
anthrax.
Just as I opened up the pot and put it on the air, he blurted that out. Couldn't do it again in a million years.
One of those wonderful golden radio live moments.
Exactly. Once-in-a-lifetime moments where Rummy blurted out
anthrax
right on cue, as if I was like orchestrating the whole thing. Anyway, it says, what about the hockey player Ginla? Is he worth all the money? Yes. Mark Philippoussis lives up here, and if he and Andy Roddick practice together and let me watch, I'll send a spy report. Okay, which one's got the Tony? Poor Andy got stomped the other day, but that's the way it goes. Okay, and then, of course, two old fossils there in the finals. Who cares about that? You don't care about tennis, do you?
No.
Sure you do. If there's some hot chick playing, you would.
Yes.
Who wants to see that little monkey, Pete Sampras, and that bald-headed Andre Agassi? Oh, they both give me the creeps. Donahue's secret plan to save his show. See, I told you I'd find it. I was searching for it. I was scouring, and I found it. All right. Phil Donahue is desperately seeking Wacko Jacko and other big-time celebrities to pump up his pathetic talk show ratings. Wait till you hear what his ratings are.
Oh.
Even worse than Mo Cheswick. We're talking the biggest names in show business, sex, and politics. People like Michael Jackson, Anna Nicole Smith, and Bill Clinton, says an industry source. To hell with his liberal philosophical talk. Phil knows he needs to put a spark into his show, and he's got a secret plan to do it fast. And he better do it fast. Fewer than 136,000 people nationwide tuned in to see the former talk show king's new MSNBC Gabfest Donahue. That translates into a pathetic 0.1 Nielsen rating. Now, that's the kind of rating we had on Whammy.
And we
Remember
did
that?
better than that, actually.
Yeah, but this is nationwide. Nearly as low as you can get. By comparison, Donahue's arch-rival Bill O'Reilly, don't confuse me with the facts O'Reilly, grabbed 1.1 million viewers during the same time period on Fox News. So 1.1 million against 136,000. Phil's not going to sit by and watch someone like O'Reilly thump him, notes the source, but he realizes he needs a little help at this point. Yeah, more than a little. He knows he needs to make a big splash to get noticed again, and he's got a lot of surprises in store. Donahue, 66, changed the face of daytime TV in 67 when his first talk show debuted in Dayton, Ohio. The Phil Donahue Show soon went into syndication and flourished for nearly 3 decades, ending its run in 1996. But after the 6-year hiatus, he's now fighting to regain a foothold in the format he practically invented. Phil is desperate, says another TV insider. He can't last long with his ratings in the toilet. But the guy's a legend who feels he can pull things out. When in doubt, pull it out. He's scrambling to call in some favors and will come up with big controversial names who will lock in viewers. But he better act fast because TV execs are even shorter on patience than Phil is on viewers. There's no telling how much time he's got left on the air. How do you like that? So he's desperate.
Please don't do it, Phil.
Maybe he can get Gloria Allred on there. And that bitch from Court TV, Nancy Grace.
Well, Phil.
Amazing Grace. And maybe Dr. Phil. What do you think?
No.
Hey, guess what? Speaking of obnoxious people, Celine Dion, it's just amazing to me, but in the National Post, and I won't waste the audience's time because they don't care about Canada, but haven't I always told you that the biggest problem with this country is that the Canadians have this inferiority complex, and they just can't, they not only can't get over it, but they can't stop talking about it. Where's the front page? One moment, please. Under where it says U.S. Makes urgent calls for war and the pictures of Condoleezza and Cheney and Powell and Rumsfeld, only 20% say Canada has distinct culture. And there's a whole thing again about woe is us and we're just like an appendage to you. They can't stop talking about that. So they did a post-global poll, okay? National Post and the Global National Network?
Yes.
Or is that yeah. Who's the best-known Canadians? Are you ready for that?
And the results are?
The result is Celine Dion. No wonder they're not too crazy about Canadians. 9.3%. Michael J. Fox, Wayne Gretzky, Old Needle Nose, Shania Twain. I like Shania Twain. I didn't even know she was Canadian.
I didn't either.
Well, now you know. In fact, some of these on this list you wouldn't have known. Alex Trebek.
Sure.
Can't stand Alex Trebek. I don't mind him that much, but that show. And the answer is, you like that show.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, because it's for Sue.
Question is,
Peter,
it's for smart people.
No, it's not. It's for idiots. Peter Jennings, 2.8%. Mike Myers, 2.2%. Now, why would he not have been near the top?
I don't know.
How could more people not know? Huh? Well, the question is, Canada's produced its share of well-known actors, politicians, and artists. Can you name a famous Canadian? These are the American responses. Only 2.2% Mike Myers. Pierre Trudeau, 2.2%. John Candy, 1.8%. Rest in a big fat piece.
Aren't
Anne
all
Murray,
the FCTV people Canadian?
How the hell do I know? Anne Murray, 1.5%. Jim Carrey, Paul Schaefer, Tom Brokaw, Lauren Green, Al Amos Morissette, William Shatner, Martin Short, Brian Adams, Dan Aykroyd, Pamela Anderson, your favorite, Bare Naked Ladies, Jean Chrétien, and Tom Green. You know, Monty Hall didn't make the list. You want to know why?
Why?
Because they must not have asked old people like me.
Oh.
Huh? It must be. Who the hell knows Monty Hall? Well, he sure went downhill, didn't he, after they cut that one nut off?
Oh, they're showing this movie that he's in now. The previews are on every 5 minutes.
No, but he's had it. He's old news. Make no mistake about it. 1226 at 560 WQAM. Let me tell you again about how you become a high-paid computer professional. Say goodbye to that dead-end job and tell your boss to shove it. That's right. A lot of computer jobs out there waiting with big bucks. The question is, of course, how do you find a good school that will give you the training and accomplish all of these things and say goodbye to that piece of turd you're working for right now? There's only one school that's got 4 convenient locations all over Dade and Broward, including that spectacular, outstanding location in unbelievably congested Kendall. There's one school that's got certified Microsoft instructors, convenient day, evening, and weekend classes. There's one school that's got full-time placement department with over 30 years experience, so they really know what they're doing. They know their crap. And with this school, you can complete your program and get certified in just 4 short months, and we're talking about hands-on training, so you really know what you're doing. You've heard me talk about our friends at Fast Train for a long time, so today is the day, finally, to get up off your lazy ass, pick up the phone and call Fast Train, at least get the information, and decide for yourself if you want to move into a very, very high-paid career. Call 1-866-FAST-TRAIN. That's 1-866-FAST-TRAIN. And they'll probably ask you, where'd you hear about us? Say, Todd Dreck at QAM told us to call. Or check them out on the web, if you like, at fasttrain.com.
We're Sports Radio 560. QAM.
You're gay.
FAGs. Woo. Yeah. The FAGs. Here come the FAGs. Let's wipe that off my chin. Oh. We'll play with your member. Oh. Gay guys got your back. Remember that, because that's where we're looking for love. It's where your crack's at. The fetish held by me, FAG. I got less facial hair than a lesbian. So don't make fun. Don't poke your nose at the queer cake boy lifestyle I chose. Stop your gay jokes and start being silent, because you might get a taste of homosexual violence. Because we don't play, your butt's my target, like a dog in its territory. We mark it. When you see us with our Ray-Bans on, we're just signing the part that we want to get our hands on. We are the FAGs. We're the FAGs, sister. Ooh. And don't you forget it. We are the FAGs. Really all kind of hard to swallow. Let me see you just prance with me. Just prance with me. Now slide. Ooh, right there. Let me see you do some waist bending. Oh, perfect. And then your wrist limp. That's it, baby. Just. Whoa. what you went and did. Oh, I gotta wipe this off. Oh, Jesus, it's everywhere.
Rectum.
Does anybody have a moist towelette? Okay, look, let's just cut this crap out. You're no Judy Garland.
So anyway, here's a fax from Joe in Miami who says, rumor has it that Fred Phelps will be in town tomorrow to picket Hallelujah and pass the offering plate. You know Fred Phelps?
Yeah, I know who that is.
That crazy bastard from Kansas, the Reverend Fred Phelps, of course, who runs around to funerals of AIDS people and all this other stuff. Homophobic champion of the universe, Fred Phelps. He'll be in town tomorrow. And by the way, just because the poll in the Herald says it's this or it's that, let me point out again, back in 77, because I lived through it, the referendum, the polls were all even, Steven, and it got trounced. So don't get too cocky, if I can say that. Can I say that?
No.
All you fags out there, don't get too cocky. You better go out and vote 2, 3, 4 times apiece tomorrow, just to make sure. Anyway, here's one from Julia in Miami who says, did you check out Cutie Pie, Hunk David Carr, quarterback of the Houston Texans? I certainly did, Julia. Excellent choice. Way cuter, better cutie than Brady, she says. I'm sorry, but you were doing real well until you get to that point. See, David Carr he's pretty damn good, but his nose is it's like he ran into a wall or something. You know what I'm talking about?
I know.
Guys that have like a
flat or mushed down like a pug nose.
A little bit. Not real bad, but a little, he's no Tom Brady. He's okay, though. Believe me. Tonight you get to see Tom Brady stark naked on ABC. Oh, by the way, I'd like to point out that Al Michaels, who was on and Howie was yucking it up with Mo Cheswick this morning, yucking. Guess who's one of Al Michaels' close buddies and co-workers for many, many years on ABC when they were doing thoroughbred racing?
Okay.
That we talk to 3 times a year?
Dave Johnson.
Right, there you go. I just mentioned that in passing. Oh, is he one of yours? Speaking of Donahue, it says, read this, damn it. This was a really good show with much information about Jeb, and I don't know what they want me to read because that's all I got. That's all you faxed me. Is there more to it?
No, that was it.
Well, what does that mean?
I don't know.
Speaking of Donahue, read this, damn it. This was a really good show with mucho information
about... Oh, that transcript thing. I didn't mean to send you the first page of that.
Oh. So in other words,
kind of
more...
long. Well, I'll fax it to you. You can sift through it.
Okay. Oh, and that's a long thing?
Yeah, it's a long thing. 5
How many pages?
5.
Save it for later. Save it for tomorrow. I don't have time to embark on something like that right now.
It's kind of cut off in places.
Well, like I said, take a look at it. Because this is much more important, speaking of the election tomorrow. What Bushes aren't, McBride is, writes Dan Moffat in the Palm Beach Post, which, like I said, got some pretty good news and editorial things, but the sports section blows, always. He says, 8 years of Bill and Hillary gave the nation a bad case of Clinton fatigue. Now the first symptoms of Bush fatigue can be detected. Do you know that even Kathy Willett suffered from Bush fatigue after a few years?
Is that why she shaved it off?
Yes. It says, how else to explain the rise of Bill McBride? In the span of several weeks, Mr. McBride has made the improbable transition from obscure long-shot candidate for governor to surging campaigner who draws hyperboles from across the state and across the country. U.S. Representative Robert Wexler, Democrat of Delray Beach, went so far this week as to call him the future of the Democratic Party. Analysts now say that if he can defeat Janet Reno in tomorrow's primary, it'll mark the greatest upset in Florida political history. Mr. McBride's name, which was little known outside Hillsborough County a month ago, now appears in front-page headlines and leads the evening news. The White House is concerned that a loss in Florida's gubernatorial race could be interpreted as a test of the president's prospects for winning re-election in 2004, the Boston Globe said in a recent article about Republican ads targeting Mr. McBride. Improbable ascensions such as this are creatures of timing and context. Mr. McBride is a 57-year-old newcomer who's come to the right place at the right time. With Bush fatigue palpable, both in Tallahassee and in Washington, Mr. McBride offers an allure that is largely biographical. Next to nothing about Mr. McBride's background resembles that of Jeb's or W's. The stark contrast of his life story with that of the Bushes has captured the affection of Democrats. They relate at an organic level. They see him as a good counter to each Bushian evil, an inherent virtue for every intrinsic flaw, a McBride yin for every Bush yang. In Bill McBride, they believe they found their anti-Bush. It begins with origins. Mr. McBride grew up northwest of Orlando in Leesburg, son of an Air Force vet who went through electronic school on the GI Bill and fixed TVs for a living. Governor Bush and President George W. are products of Connecticut affluence groomed for public office from an early age and transplanted into populous states to extend a political dynasty. Mr. McBride attended public schools and, though a talented football player and exceptional student, worked his way through the University of Florida waiting on hotel tables. The Bushes attended private schools, though Jeb went to the University of Texas and never worried about paying the next tuition bill. When the Vietnam War came, Mr. McBride left law school and volunteered for the Marines. He became an infantry leader, graduated first in his class from the Army Ranger School, and in Vietnam he earned the Bronze Star for Valor. The Bushes spent the war years protecting Texas. When Mr. McBride left the service and returned to Florida, no empty desk in the family business was waiting. There was no family fortune to spend on drilling oil wells, no family connections to a career in real estate. Mr. McBride worked his way up at Holland & Knight, rising to managing partner. When it came time for Mr. McBride to marry, he found an independent professional woman with a career at least equal of his own, Alex Sink, the former president of Bank of America, Florida. They sent their kids to public school and became locally renowned for civic activism. There is a folklore about him that's distinctly Floridian and impossible to invent or import from other places. When he was 10, he cut his hand with a machete, yet played that night in a Little League All-Star game for Leesburg. He homered and ran the bases, bleeding as he crossed the plate. As a running back for Leesburg High School Yellow Jackets, Mr. McBride earned the nickname Caribou for his 6'3" frame and bruising inside runs. Florida coach Ray Graves caused a stir in the town of 15,000 residents when he showed up at McBride's house to recruit him. Mr. McBride's Gator career ended quickly, however, when he tore up his knee during one of his first practices. He could have kept his football scholarship but elected to give it back. Coach Graves said the freshman told him that because he couldn't contribute, it wasn't right to keep it. All the qualities that diehard Democrats find offensive about the Bushes, the privilege, the sanctimony, the faux service, the success by endowment, the bravery by proxy, are reflected in opposites in Mr. McBride, a self-made Floridian. Biography matters in this race for governor. Bill McBride is the anti-Bush that Republicans have reason to fear. How do you like that? Says Dan Moffat in Friday's Palm Beach Post.
Be afraid. Be very afraid.
How do you like them apples, huh?
I had no idea.
Well, now you know a little bit more about Bill McBride now that you're going to go out and vote for him 20 or 30 times tomorrow. I mean, Janet, like I said, she's a good guy, but, let's not, no, seriously, let's not get carried away. She couldn't win a one-horse race.
Live and local. This is Sports Radio 560 QAM.
Hey guys, it's football season and Treasure Island is celebrating with a special football season kickoff party. This Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, it's specials like you've never seen before from Treasure Island. 2-for-1 drink specials from 8 to 10, a free buffet all day from noon till midnight, $100 drink tab giveaways, and much, much more. Plus, I'll be there Thursday to kick off the festivities with a special happy hour party from 5 to 7. Looking for more? Well, XXX porn star Zoe Britton will be live on stage with her awesome show. You have to see this act to believe it. Of course, all day you can feast your eyes on over 50 gorgeous dancers on 3 stages. Treat yourself to a naked friction dance up close and in your face, unwind and release all your inhibitions. So make plans now to be at Treasure Island this weekend for their football season kickoff party. 2-for-1 drink specials from 8 till 10, a free buffet from noon till midnight, $100 drink tab giveaways, and our special happy hour parties on Thursday from 5 to 7. Only at Treasure Island, just off the Palmetto, north of the 122nd Street exit. See for yourself why Maxim Magazine voted Treasure Island South Florida's #1 adult club. For more info, call them at 305-558-2221. We'll see you Thursday starting at 5 for the best happy hour party in town, exclusively at Treasure Island.
Bush. Break the move!
Don't like all the heartburn. Dum, dum, dum. Every time I see dum, 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 that retarded dimwit dum, 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 on my TV. He's President Trump. Republicans muscled in, an inarticulate idiot. I don't know why they would want this guy, but now he's here. We're screwed the next 4 years with President Thumb. Oh, what I give to count votes once more and get who we all voted for. Why did you want this? Dum, dum, dum. Lips drumming, stupid keys. Dum, 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 dum. Mind lip drunk and rich kid. Dum, dum, dum. He's even dumber than me. He's President Dumb. You don't care what it took. You got him in by hook or crook. The Christian right knows what's best for you and I, but have no fear. We've got a great leader here with President Dumb.
I'll tell you one thing. Well, when he started scratching the side of his head when Froggy Pretchen started talking in French, and you just had to see it. And you looked at that and said, oh, man, this is scary. In fact, I see so many similarities between him and somebody else. You know who that is?
No.
Let me give you one clue.
Greg?
Yeah. I think it could be the same person. Ever see the two of them together?
No.
Look at this. George is like really peeling into that thing now. You looking at it?
No, there it is.
How did George do in filling in for Neil this summer? Less than a turd.
You turd.
You were like hurting earlier.
Well, 440 people. Now that you mentioned it, they'll come back.
No, they won't. 446 votes. Well, I mean, I got to give the thing.
Go ahead.
What do you want me to do? Just not talk about it? 446 votes. I don't listen when George is on. 147, 32.9%, sliding a hair under a third. Excellent job, better than ever. 146, 32.7%. Look at that. I didn't even realize that. Almost even Steven. Good, 75. Okay, 44. Weak, 21. And fair, 13. I made a list here. Speaking of President Dumbschmidt, I made a list of why we wind up with presidents like that.
Okay.
Since 1972. Now, Humphrey, of course, ran in 68, and he lost because he didn't, he didn't disavow Vietnam until it was too late, with LBJ. But McGovern in 72, Jimmy Carter in 76, who actually won, which was shocking, Walter Mondale, Michael Dukakis, and Al Gore. So if you take Bubba out of there in the 2 terms that he won, that's why. There's the answer for you. What a group of listless. The whole group combined have got the personality of Joe Zagacki on a bad day. Pathetic. New terror threat to U.S. ? Asked CBS News. U.S. intelligence and law enforcement agencies have detected increased chatter or communications between known al-Qaeda operatives, senior officials have told CBS News correspondent Jim Stewart. The official described the chatter as terrorist electronic and internet intercepts, some of which are in the form of morale booster messages like, stay tuned, good news is on the way. Some suggest targets in the United States, others say overseas. Much of the increased chatter is taking place in Afghanistan. It began to spike in volume earlier this week. They suggest an impending attack against the U.S. and its allies both in America and overseas, but contain no specifics, as usual. It may possibly be related to the September 9th anniversary of the assassination in Afghanistan of a Northern Alliance leader, which is like today. The threat is nonspecific, and officials say the increased communications is less intense than a spike that occurred around July 4th, but it's still intense. It is similar but not quite as serious as the chatter picked up around last July 4th, said one official. It was enough, however, for the Pentagon to immediately resume 24-hour-a-day combat air patrol over Washington and New York, something they hadn't planned on doing until this week's Wednesday. This detection has caused U.S. officials to resume combat air patrol for an indefinite period. As well, the U.S. Embassy in Kabul has been buttoned up. And, of course, we know they keep reminding us that the messages we intercepted last year on 9/10, about tomorrow is like D-Day and tomorrow is yada yada. There were like 2 separate messages, but they weren't decoded until 9/12, the day after. And you want to know one of the reasons they had difficulty in decoding them?
I give up. Why?
Not enough Arabic speakers. Now, wouldn't you think if this country, forget about which administration because they're all guilty, wouldn't you think that if we were serious about combating terrorism, every terrorist group on the list, I'm talking not domestic, the skinheads, I'm not talking about them, international terrorist group, almost every single one of them is from some Arabic country, okay?
Right.
And wouldn't you think that if we were serious about fighting terrorism, that maybe, just maybe, we would have recruited more people who speak fluent Arabic?
Oh, you're just being silly.
And if we're working on decoding those messages, doesn't it help if we understand what they mean? Well, I mean, I realize I'm getting radical now. Getting carried away. You're right, it's back up to 33.1%. I won't mention it again until the end of the show. It's coming up on 10 before 1 at 560 WQM. We got the hysterical hound. It ought to be wild. I'm sure he'll remind you that they beat up on a little girls' team yesterday. Don't get too carried away. And, of course, the idea of having a game in the middle of a Jew holiday and then playing a little girls' team for the opening. That's why they couldn't sell it out in the Channel 7 Fox. Had to buy up the remaining tickets to get it on TV. Another embarrassment for South Florida, but that'll teach them, I guess. I'll tell you a guy who can teach you a lot about life, and that's my good friend Tom Lehman down at Hallett Pontiac GMC. They're doing it again. That's what Bob Eisenberg tells me. 0% financing is continuing right as I speak. Get yourself 0% financing up to 60 months with approved credit from GMAC, or it's your choice. Take up to $4,000 rebate on select 2002 Pontiacs or GMC models in stock. You can't beat the deals at Hallett with a shtick. And while you're there, be sure and take a look at the line. complete line of GMC gas-guzzling SUVs, including the Envoy, voted by Motor Trend as SUV of the year. Plus, see the all-new Pontiac Vibe SUV. It's got the power of a sports car and probably guzzles gas like crazy, just like your SUV.
Yeah.
My Corvette gets like on a highway 25, 26 miles, around town around 20, but they don't sell Corvettes at Hallett Pontiac. Hallett also has a stupendous selection of pre-owned cars, trucks, and sport utility vehicles that you can depend on. No lemons on that lot. And if some other schmuck turned you down for credit in the car business, have no fear because Hallett is here, and Tom Lehman and the folks down there will cut your deal. I'll get you into a new car or a used car or something. So for a great deal on Pontiacs and GMCs, this is the place, Hallett Pontiac GMC, where they'll treat you right, and they've been doing good deals for folks for over 35 years in that same great location. 13401 South Dixie Highway, that's US 1 across from the Falls. Open every day, 7 days a week. Hallett Pontiac GMC, we are professional grade.
Live and local. We're Sports Radio 560 QAM.
Young is too young.
The Mad Dog is out of control, and you'll find out why when you hear the latest release from Blockbuster Entertainment. Jim Mandich sings duets.
Well, all right.
Riding around in the street.
Well, all right.
Hear the Mad Dog, Jim Mandich, sing classic rock.
All right. All right.
Felt a little bit foolish.
Kind of like a eunuch in a whorehouse.
But now he says,
I like it. I like it.
The Mad Dog just can't kiss enough of that cottage cheese butt.
If he wants me to sing God Bless America and pasties and a G-string up here, I'll do it.
You got soul, and everybody knows that it's all right. Oh, it's all right.
Listen to the Mad Dog sing himself happy.
All right. All right. All right.
Jim Mandich sings duets, available now at all Blockbuster stores.
All right.
Top 56 at 560. He'll be along in just a couple of minutes after the sports update. We don't have like news at the top of the hour. We don't believe in news on this station. The only news that's worth hearing about is sports news. Like the U of M beat up on another marginal school over the weekend by 100 points, and the Dolphins beat up on a little girls' team by 200 points yesterday. Let's hear it.
Oh!
Because I'm sure that everybody in South Florida feels better about themselves now. And then, of course, we wound up getting screwed this morning. I come in, there's no audio feed. Did you guys see Clarence at all?
I saw him.
Well, did you pass along the message?
I mentioned it to him.
Since we got these goddamn football games every weekend, and everybody has to dick around with this and dick around, and I wound up getting dicked, okay? Which, quite frankly, on a Monday morning that early, I'm not too crazy about getting dicked. Anyway, speaking of that, the whole country is getting dicked because adult blood stem cells were unable to transform into other types of tissue cells in a Stanford University study, raising new doubts about the eventual value of the cells in the treatment of disease. The finding supports the view that embryonic stem cells, not adult stem cells, offer the most promise for treating conditions such as heart disease, spinal injury, diabetes, and Parkinson's disease, some researchers say. But many people, including President George W. Bush, oppose using human embryonic stem cells in medical research because it involves the death of an embryo.
Boy!
The Stanford researchers attempted to trace the evolution of blood stem cells after placing them singly into mice whose bone marrow had been destroyed. The hope was that the study would show how a single blood-making cell would grow into millions of cells, including perhaps cells in other tissues of the body. Instead, said Amy Wagers, first author of the study appearing this week in the Journal of Science, the group found that blood stem cells replenished the bone marrow but made almost no other types of tissue cells. Wagers said the study strongly suggests that blood stem cells make only one thing, blood, making skin, neurons, muscle, or liver cells, as some researchers have reported from such stem cells, is an extremely rare event that probably would not be useful in the treatment of disease. So once again, embryonic stem cells are what we need, and those of you with diabetes like me, or Parkinson's, or all these other diseases, we have to wait until we have somebody in there who isn't like in the pocket of all those good right-wing Christians. Oh, that's right, I forgot. We have this bias against Christians in the media now. That's what Governor Dempsey said.
That's you.
That's right, me and all the other people with a brain who don't want to hear. Anyway, here's the final total before we leave today, because this is a very important poll today. The future of this show depends on it, doesn't it?
No.
George's future in the radio business depends on the outcome of this poll.
No.
No, it doesn't. It all depends on whether Cheswick gets all bent out of shape again. Maybe he'll call up Charles Elmore and give him the rest of that story. What do you think?
No.
No chance. Because even he would be too embarrassed to admit that the whole snit was about him trying to get you fired over a bunch of silly childish emails. Even Mo would be too embarrassed for that. But don't forget, I'm bad, and Mad Dog's bad, Zimfer's bad, Westwood 1, they're bad, they're classless, and it's the whole world against Mo Cheswick, baby. He wants his, or whatever it is he wants. What does he want? 473 votes on the poll. How did George do filling in for Neil this summer? How do he be doing? I don't listen when George is on 161. Back to 34%. I think you're right. Excellent job. Better than ever. 153. Just changing again. Good. 76. Okay. 46. Weak 23 and fair 14. Mad Dog, by the way, gave you very high marks.
I love him.
Huh? No, seriously, when I was down there, he came in and went out of his way to say, I'll tell you one thing, boy, George did a sensational job this summer. Man, oh man, does he give good head.
Bye. The Neil Rogers Show on 560 WQAM, Miami, Fort Lauderdale.
I've got 2 sets of lips.
We will return to regular programming momentarily on WQAM.com. Until then, here's the best of Sports Radio 560 QAM as Bobby Beathard joined the Hammer Hank Goldberg on Monday, August 5th.
Bobby, it's great to get a chance to talk with you, and it's great that you're back in football. How are you doing?
Hank, I'm fine.